It isn't really looking good for Chen Bai one night as he stands, clearly out of breath in front of his white demon castle, while a hot chick is ominously hovering over him. Apparently, Chen Bai failed a mission, which made her a bit moody. So she decides to send Chen Bai to hell for failing one mission out of 100+ successful ones. The poor guy begs for another chance, using his past accomplishments as a reason he shouldn't be shown his game over screen yet. But this woman is stubborn and tells him that lowly humans like him have no right to request opportunities, so he has absolutely no choice but to die slowly. But he isn't going down in hell alone. His majestic castle is going to get majestically obliterated too. Immediately, black matter resembling tentacles emerges from the ground, slicing and dicing his castle into bite-sized Lego bricks while also destroying the ground on which he stands, dragging him down to fall to his doom. As Chen Bai falls into the endless darkness, he is reminded of the hundreds of tasks he had done for her, and she was going to wipe him out due to a single failure. And why? Because he was nothing but a lowly human. But Chen Bai is not one to simply accept his fate. As the darkness has engulfed him, he gives out a burst of maniacal laughter while cursing at Heloise. However, before he can completely vanish and dissolve into the void, the hourglass necklace on him glows brightly as a reversal spell is activated. All of a sudden, Chen Bai wakes up in a bunk bed, cursing and holding his middle finger up in absolute rage. His eyesight clears as he looks around in utter confusion. Was he not being killed by the lady? Where had Heloise gone? Where was he? He recognizes his surroundings and realizes that he has come back to his college days, although he still cannot understand his situation completely. Whatever he had seen happening before waking up had felt extremely real. Glancing down, he notices the hourglass necklace still on him. It is an item he had obtained 20 years ago after the arrival of the Universal Will when the trial had first begun. It was the most unique item he had ever seen, as neither could it display any attributes, nor could it be destroyed. He remembered that the sand was at the bottom before, and it would not have flowed even if he had turned it upside down. But now it was at the very top and flowing back. The hourglass might just have helped him regress, but he does not understand any more than that. The current date was the 5th of June, which was merely 10 days before the arrival of the Universal Will and the start of the trial. 10 days later, on June 15th, the Universal Will would officially arrive and begin the trial. More than 90% of humanity would die and become various zombies and monsters. All conventional weapons would fail, and the world would witness utter destruction in the course of a single night. Along with great danger came great opportunity. Survivors of the trial would awaken innate abilities and have a chance to gain various magical equipment and items. Such good things would later attract even gods who control the rules of the universe. While they cannot directly intervene in the trial, they can attract humans to do their bidding and gain benefits from them. In his previous life, Chen Bai had not been strong and had tried to curry favor with the Lady of Darkness, Heloise. He had desperately completed all tasks that she had assigned to him to look good, but had never expected to be cast away because of a mere failed mission. As he reads the news, his focus turns to current events. Patients at a hospital were going crazy and biting people while a body in the middle of forensic dissection, to the utter shock of the examiner, had just managed to wake up. As he goes through the headlines, he decides that he must become strong enough this time that he does not have to rely on any god, so that he can even crush the gods under his feet. 10 years after the trial had begun, someone had claimed to have discovered the only way to upgrade innate abilities. He had said that 10 days before the trial, the abilities had already become effective, and anyone who could discover them would be able to utilize and upgrade them too. Chen Bai decides to get up and head for the hospital where the first virus had been documented in the news. In his previous life, Chen Bai's innate ability was E-rank virus resistance, which could be upgraded and strengthened by triggering it with a virus. After stealthily avoiding the doctors and nurses, he reached the ward where the alleged person who bit others had been restrained. The person has been bound at the hands and feet to a bed with metal cuffs. Confirming that it is actually a zombie, Chen Bai takes a syringe, draws blood from it, and stares at it closely. The blood is a sickly shade of bright purple instead of the deep red it should normally be. He takes it back to his college dorm room, which is still empty. He has assumed that his innate ability has become effective already, and if he injects the zombie's blood now, it would help him strengthen his virus resistance. Despite knowing the risk of death which would arise if his assumptions were wrong, he takes the injection with a scrunched-up face. He refuses to be the weakling he had been in the past, and pushes the needle into his hand as he injects it. With heavy breaths, he falls to the floor as the virus takes over his entire body, and his eyes lose focus. In his mind, he sees utter darkness surrounding him, as an image of Heloise appears at his weakest moment. It tempts him to give up and embrace the darkness, as that is all a lowly human like him could do. But Chen Bai is not going down so easily this time. With determined eyes, he looks at her and declares that he will conquer her no matter what. After long hours, the night passes and the day breaks. Chen-bai is on the balcony looking out the window with unfocused eyes and veins popping up all over his face while blood drips from his mouth. His doormates are back and are scared beyond their wits seeing him in such a state. He senses them entering and turns to them with a hideous expression on his face. When they call out his name in horror, he snaps out of his trance and returns to his senses. As his eyes regain focus, he trembles in excitement as he realizes she has succeeded. He apologizes to his roommates and goes to the bathroom to wash up. The zombie virus had not killed him, so he was sure his ability had been upgraded. But the question was to which rank? All of a sudden, a strange purple light shines down on him as his consciousness is dragged to a dark space. A mysterious voice that he recognizes as the Universal Will congratulates him on being selected as a pioneer and awakening in advance. Opening the title interface, he seems to have gained the Pioneer title, which gives a passive increase of 5% in all his attributes. It also gives a 10% increase in experience gain. When he finally looks at the innate ability panel, he finds that his ability has reached the SSS rank and has been upgraded to the Virus Monarch. Virus Monarch is the most powerful ability in the virus element, capable of absorbing, utilizing, manipulating, transforming, and even creating viruses. However, Chen-bai only has the ability to absorb viruses within a limited range at present. He would need a large number of viruses to enhance his ability. Thus, he heads to the best place to find viruses, the hospital. However, at the entrance of the hospital, people are running out of it screaming chaotically that zombies have appeared. Chen-bai remembers that there had been 3 specific incidents right before the trial came, and one of them had been the sealed hospital, and looks like he had come right in time. A few zombies rush out of the hospital, but instead of running with the rest of the crowd, he dashes towards one of the zombies and smashes his head into the ground with full force. With his skill, he absorbs the virus from the zombie, which is registered as a single virus point in his system. These points can be used to strengthen his physical abilities. As he stands back up, he declares that he will not let any of them escape that day and rushes into the crowd. While all this is happening outside, the director of the hospital and a nurse are stuck in a bathroom stall together with the door locked to keep a zombie out. Seeing that it will not hold out much longer, the director decides to succumb to his desires and assaults the nurse, who is frightened seeing his actions. Before he can lay a hand on her, the door breaks down and the zombie rushes in. Forgetting his carnal desires, the director grabs the nurse and pushes her towards the zombie to save himself. He attempts to jump off and makes a run for the window with another zombie hot on his tail. With a desperate but futile jump, he crashes into the window with the zombie falling out and onto the ground. Several minutes later, Chen-bai arrives at the scene while absorbing the virus from zombies one after another. He sees the already bitten nurse lying on the washroom floor and deduces that she still has not turned into a zombie, and there should still be time to save her. Since the military would be at the site soon, he would need someone to guide him through the hospital so he could find what he needed at the earliest. With his virus absorption skill, he sucks all of the zombie virus from inside her to stop her from turning into a zombie. The nurse, who just got saved, wakes up with a start and looks around in confusion. She turns and thanks Chen-bai for saving her. She had apparently not lost consciousness the entire time and was aware of what had happened. He says he needs her help with something, but she expresses her wish to wear something first, as her current clothes had been torn due to the zombies biting. Since there is not much time, he ignores her request, grabs her wrists and tells her to take him to the place in the hospital with the most viruses. Soon they reach the laboratory where all clinical samples from patients are tested. Seeing him mixing up whichever virus samples he could find, the nurse is alarmed and asks just what he is planning to do. With so many viruses in a single beaker, he puts his hand over it and starts absorbing them as one system message pops up after another, notifying him of the various viruses entering his body. After this is done, he tries to differentiate and select a single one of those, which can help strengthen his zombie virus the most at present. Finding the optimal combination, he decides on the dark light virus that increases all his attributes by 10 and his self-healing ability by 200%. It is a virus primarily focused on devouring and evolving. Suddenly, the nurse alerts him to incoming zombies, to which he tells her to stay put where she is. With a single movement, he is at the door holding the zombie up by his neck. Deciding to test his new abilities on him, he starts devouring the zombie with his skill from the dark light virus. Sickly purple-hued darkness surrounds and consumes the zombie as it is absorbed into Chen-bai's body. The nurse is absolutely shocked to see what has just happened in front of her eyes. He is unfazed and asks her if something is wrong. She sighs as the situation is beyond what she could rationally understand. Knowing that he has actually saved her, she trusts that he will not harm her and decides to keep his abilities a secret. They finally introduce themselves to each other as Chen-bai and Su Xin. Suddenly there are loud noises outside as Chenbai realizes that the military and the police are probably here already. Grabbing her, Chenbai asks for the fastest directions to the roof where they would exit the hospital from. In the hospital corridor, a giant zombie appears, jumps right into their way and goes in for a bite. Sensing the danger early, Chenbai pushes Sushin out of the way but gets bitten himself instead. Seems like there will be no option but to fight. Blood splashes across the floor from Chenbai's arm as he stares down the massive, incredible Hulk-looking zombie blocking the hallway. While looking at the wound, he looks worried for a moment but then smiles, kinda intrigued by the sight of a mutant in front of him. He is wondering what kind of wild evolution the dark light virus might trigger by absorbing this one. Without warning, the zombie launches itself off the ground, aiming straight for our hero. He digs his feet into the floor, ready to react. As the zombie slams its hands down, Chenbai leaps into the air, dodging just in time. Twisting in midair, our hero strikes the zombie's head with precision, still airborne. The zombie's eyes flash, realizing Chenbai is about to land behind it. It spins around quickly, swinging its massive arms to hit him, but our hero arches his back and pulls his head up, narrowly dodging the blow with perfect timing. Chenbai lands smoothly on the ground and wastes no time grabbing another zombie by the head. As our hero absorbs energy from the other zombie to recharge, he notices that the mutant's overall strength seems to match his own. Without hesitation, Chenbai swings his arm, releasing those tentacle-like auras from them. He slams his fist into the mutant zombie's chest with such force that the creature is knocked backward, crashing into the wall. The impact leaves a visible dent in the zombie's chest, pinning it against the wall. Chenbai notes how tough this thing is, impressed but unfazed as this is light work. He steps back, skidding slightly on the floor as the mutant zombie struggles, clearly pissed off, pulling itself out of the wall. It's even more pissed off now as it locks onto our hero, its anger only growing even more. As Chenbai heals himself, he quickly realizes that the damage he's been doing isn't enough to put this monster zombie out of its misery yet, and dealing with it is going to take way longer than he expected. Just then, Sushin breaks the emergency case. She grabs the axe from inside the box. Her hands are shaking but ready for action. Sushin swings the axe, calling out for her new friend, then hurls it through the air, making it spin like a pro. Meanwhile, the mutant zombie charges at Chenbai with jaw-dropping speed, catching him off guard. Chenbai jumps just in time to dodge the mutant's claw and snatches the axe out of the air as he lands. He praises her for her excellent throw, and using the mutant zombie's shoulder as a launch pad, he taunts it, daring it to come at him so they can wrap this up quickly. The moment of impact arrives as our protagonist's axe clashes against the mutant's claws. He manages to land a really good hit, injuring the creature, but the mutant claps back, slashing its huge claws across our protagonist. They both move like lightning, trading blows like they were in the tournament of power. Chen takes a giant step back, then swings the axe with all his strength, yelling for the zombie to go to hell. As the mutant zombie charges at the protagonist, he hurls the axe right at it. They both stumble as they collide, and the axe spins through the air, aiming for the zombie's head. Chenbai is quite surprised the mutant can still hold its ground like that. He rushes over to the zombie, yanking the axe out of its head while stepping on the creature's noggin for leverage. As he pulls the axe free, Chenbai jokes about not leaving wounds untreated and warns the zombie to watch out for its death anniversary. Suddenly, the mutant's eyes turn bloodshot, its veins bulging like crazy. The protagonist doesn't see it coming when the mutant grabs him and slams him against the wall, causing him to cough up some blood. Sushin gets horrified as she witnesses her new friend's sudden smackdown. She flinches when the axe drops to the floor next to her. Meanwhile, as the mutant zombie sinks its claws into Chenbai's abdomen, he's laughing in his head, thinking that when you're staring death in the face, you might as well enjoy it. He confidently asks the zombie if it really wants to tear him apart. The mutant zombie looks both startled and confused by Chenbai's reaction and question. Out of nowhere, a tentacle-like aura shoots from Chenbai's abdomen, grabbing the zombie's hand. The mutant freaks out, trying to pull away, but the tentacle just keeps growing and holding its arm with even more force. Using his skill, Evolution Devourer, Chen smiles as the tentacle wraps around the mutant's entire body. Hovering above the zombie, he asks if it's scared now, declaring that it's way too late for that. Sushin watches in horror as her new hero friend devours the mutant zombie with his skill. Despite her fear, she cheers him on, clapping her hands and calling it great. Meanwhile, Chenbai's system lets him know that the devour is complete, and he's just chowed down on a second-stage clawed zombie. A little while later, Chenbai lands on the ground, and the system tells him that his blacklight transformation is happening. His claws turn dark and sharp, and the system says he now has the clawed zombie ability called Bone Claws. The protagonist feels super pleased as he checks out his skills, thinking about all the devouring and evolving he can do. Feeling proud, he thinks choosing the blacklight virus was a smart move. Suddenly, the military shows up. They spot Chen Bai and the girl and point their guns at them, questioning if they're actually alive. They tell them to raise their hands or get shot. The protagonist gets a bit freaked out when he sees the military. They warn him they'll count to 3, and if they don't see any action, they'll shoot. The countdown starts. Su Xin panics when Chen scoops her up, saying that they need to get out of there. Just as the military leader finishes counting, he shouts to open fire. Bullets start flying as Chen Bai takes off running. Su Xin tells him to turn right ahead since there's a safe way to the rooftop. As they run, some bullets hit him. Su Xin worries about him, saying he's been shot, but he casually just shrugs it off and tells her to stay quiet and still. A few moments later, they reach the rooftop, and Chen Bai kicks the door open while still carrying the girl. She's caught off guard when he suddenly asks where her home is, but she quickly tells him it's in the Rongfeng neighborhood on North 4th Road, Nanbei Street, and he confirms that he got it. Su Xin gets very surprised when they start moving at lightning speed. She screams as Chen Bai leaps off the rooftop, gripping him tightly as he keeps running. A bit later, in the Rongfeng neighborhood on North 4th Road, someone is unlocking a door. It's Su Xin, and once they're inside, she shows her hero where the bathroom is. She offers to help clean and dress his wound, but Chen Bai says the bullet didn't get stuck and is almost healed, so he's fine. Su Xin, however, insists she needs to take a look. The hero smiles and agrees, starting to take off his clothes. In the bathroom, his shirt and jacket end up on the floor, and he stands in front of her shirtless. Su Xin feels kind of flustered but tries to point out that there are still some signs of injuries on his hands. She blushes even more when she sees the wounds on his stomach and chest that haven't healed yet. He asks Su Xin if he'll recover soon. He activates his Riz powers, asking if she want to sacrifice herself for him. Su Xin blushes and replies that he wouldn't eat her because if he planned to, he would have done it already. Chen Bai leans in close, surprising her as he corrects her, saying she was wrong. The reason he hadn't eaten her earlier was simply because the environment wasn't right. Su Xin is shocked when Chen Bai tears her clothes, saying that now the setting is perfect and much more suitable. He repeats his earlier question, wondering if she's willing to be eaten to help him recover. Embarrassed, Su Xin avoids his gaze and, instead of answering directly, requests that he wash and clean her up first so she'll be ready. The Rizmasteri agrees and swiftly leans down to kiss her. They share a passionate kiss under the running water of the shower, lost in the moment. After that, things definitely get hot and heavy in the bedroom. Meanwhile, outside the bathroom, Chen Bai's phone buzzes with notifications. One message is from Zhao Mu, asking where he is because Song Ge, the school beauty, is looking for him. Another notification pops up from Song Ge herself, wondering if he is still alive since his roommate said he went to Jiangcheng First Hospital. The next day, Chen Bai remembers the strange events that happened in Jiangcheng before the trial began. The sealed hospital, the suburban bombing, and the monster slaughterhouse. These incidents still puzzle him, as there's not much information available, and people only mention them casually in passing. He thinks it's frustrating and giving him a headache trying to figure it out. Out of nowhere, Su Xin calls him, and as he answers, he casually mentions that he's bought breakfast and will be back soon. Su Xin, however, reports that 2 men came looking for him, claiming that Song Ziqiang want to see him. This catches his attention. Su Xin, watching the men through the peephole, says they don't look trustworthy and suggests it might be a scam since Song Ziqiang is practically royalty in Jiangcheng. She seems worried and asks what to do. The protagonist calmly tells her the men aren't lying and advises her to have them wait outside, which she agrees to. Chen reflects on the fact that Song Ziqiang is the mother of Song Ge, a classmate he's had some complicated history with. As he checks the numerous calls and messages from Song Jae, who's been asking if he's okay and worried that he might be dead, he finds it interesting that Song Jae might have gone to see her mom. Since Song Ziqiang knows where Su Xin lives, it's clear she's aware of something important. Deciding it's necessary to meet her, he heads out. A short while later, a car pulls up at the suburban freezer warehouse. Chen Bai sits in the car, thinking about Song Ziqiang's rise to power. She came from nothing and ended up the richest person in Jiangcheng, thriving in both the legal and shady sides of business. After the trial arrived, she awakened as an A-level talent and quickly built her own empire. Chen Bai remembers how she unified Jiangcheng during a fierce 3-way competition, rightfully earning the title of the Queen of Jiangcheng. In his past life, she was someone he could only admire from a distance. But now, with the tables turned, he considers how valuable it would be to have someone like her on his side before the trial fully hits. When they arrive at the suburban freezer warehouse, Chen Bai walks through the corridor. A woman stands in front of him, and the man escorting him quickly bows, greeting her as Song Ziqiang. The moment he steps forward, Song Ziqiang apologizes for making him come all the way there and admits she's had her own struggles. Without hesitation, she offers him a spot by her side, even suggesting that if he's interested in her daughter, Song Gae, becoming her son-in-law is on the table. Chen-bai is skeptical, wondering what her real motive is. She casually claims that after seeing his impressive display at the hospital, anyone would catch feelings for him. Chen-bai is stunned when she mentions the hospital. He quickly becomes anxious, recalling how he destroyed the surveillance and power supply there. He asks how she found him so fast. As she presses the elevator button, she casually reminds him not to underestimate her. She explains that her people still managed to track him from the lobby to the monitoring room before the systems went down. She then shows him her phone, revealing messages from a girl named Alan who had been trapped in Ward 523 at the hospital. Alan had initially asked for help, but later sent a message saying she was fine because a super powerful person wiped out all the zombies. Song Zikyong thought it was a joke, but Aline sent a video proving it, showing Chen-bai and Su-xian running together through the hospital corridor. Song Zikyong tells him her luck improved when she encountered Liu Feng, Su-xian's colleague, among the survivors the military rescued. Hearing Liu Feng's name stirs something in the protagonist. He recalls the night at Su-xian's house when she said that Liu Feng was the one who tried to assault her and pushed her towards the zombies. Afterward, the loser tried to escape by jumping out of the window but ended up getting grabbed by zombies and smashing his head against the glass. Su-xian mentioned she hoped he was dead as she despised him, and Chen-bai had agreed. Flustered, Su-xian had tried to move on, but Chen-bai had suggested they take a break, noting that he didn't expect her to be a first-timer and that her earlier scream had been intense. Su-xian apologized, but Chen-bai reassured her it was fine, saying there would be plenty of time in the future. However, Su-xian climbed on top of him, insisting that she needed to satisfy her lifesaver that day. Back at the suburban freezer warehouse, standing by the freight elevator, the protagonist asks Song Zikyong if she can tell him where the isolated survivors are. Song Zikyong promises to share the information, but only if he agrees to be hers. That's some proposal tactics there, 100% success rate. Chen says that Song Zikyong is underestimating him, but she acknowledges it, adding that while her information is valuable, it's not enough to match his strength. However, before she could continue, Chen cuts her off, explaining that she misunderstood. He means she knows too little about him, and if she knew more, she'd understand why he couldn't be her man. To drive the point home, Chen reveals his bone claws, asserting that it's her who should submit to him. Alan quickly steps in to protect Song Zikyong, while Song Zikyong, intrigued, wonders if his mutation is related to the zombie virus. He demonstrates the power of his bone claws, correcting her assumption. He offers to explain exactly what his powers are if she agrees to be his woman. Song Zikyong, unfazed, steps forward, causing Alan to worry. She counters that Chen-bai is underestimating her. Those claws alone aren't enough to win her over. Plus, with a young and pretty nurse by his side, she can't understand why he's interested in someone like her, an older auntie. The protagonist takes a long look at Song Zikyong, admitting that no one could resist such a beautiful, mature woman. He explains that everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses, and in the time before the apocalypse, she could do much more for him than just offer comfort. When Song Zikyong hears him mention the apocalypse, she seems skeptical, dismissing the current situation as a minor zombie outbreak. But Chen corrects her, saying the zombies are barely even a warm-up for what's to come. Realizing how much Chen-bai knows, Song Zikyong says that he seems more informed than she imagined. She says that she and her people aren't ones to easily bow to others and says that they should cooperate instead. Her assistance in exchange for his knowledge. She gives him her hand, asking for his thoughts. After considering, Chen decides to shake her hand, admitting that conquering the Queen of Zhangcheng won't be easy. Song Zikyong smiles, saying that's only natural. Leaning closer to him, she confesses that she's looking forward to the challenge, asking him to keep up the effort. They suddenly hear the sounds of gunshots, and Chen-bai, alarmed, asks what's up. Song Zikyong explains that the gunfire likely came from the warehouse where Commander Huang of the Jiangcheng military had stationed half a platoon. Last night, Captain Zhao had been sent to negotiate with her, and they had requisitioned refrigerated warehouses to store both live zombies and survivors rescued from isolation hospitals. She notes that it seemed strange for things to go wrong since there were only about 30 zombies locked in the cold storage, barely able to move in the low temperatures. Chen-bai says that he didn't expect the zombies to be discovered so soon, due to their sluggishness in such conditions. However, he points out that the general population wouldn't know that extreme environments can increase the chances of zombie mutations. As he considers the potential connection between the suburban cold storage, the zombie mutations, and the bombings, the protagonist quickly pieces things together. He thinks that the place they are in could be linked to the suburban bombing that happened before. Both Song Zikyong and Alin are surprised when Chen-bai insists they should go investigate, feeling excited about the potential discovery of mutated zombies. He wonders what kind of mutation they'll encounter. Meanwhile, the military faces a massive mutated zombie. Soldiers shout orders to throw hand grenades into the zombie's mouth in desperation. The explosion creates a cloud of smoke, and the massive silhouette of the zombie is still evident within the haze. As the smoke clears, the soldiers are horrified. The mutated zombie stands completely unharmed. It growls furiously, holding a soldier in its giant hand, clearly very pissed off this time and more dangerous than before. Captain Zhao announces that their weapons are useless against the enormous zombie. He orders his soldiers to split into small groups, spread out, and attract the monster's attention separately. They must hold out until reinforcements arrive, and he asks if everyone understands the plan. However, he is syrupy when Song Ziqiang steps forward, asking him to have his men cease fire and retreat. Confused, the captain demands to know what she means. Song Ziqiang clarifies that they're wasting their time and lives trying to harm that towering creature, advising Zhao to stop sending his men to die in vain. Instead, she orders him to focus on protecting the employees from her cold storage facility and the survivors from the isolation hospital they transported there. She commands him to get them out safely. Zhao objects, insisting that it's impossible. The mutated zombie is too fast. No one could escape without someone holding it back. Meanwhile, an employee named Lu Li is nearly grabbed by the zombie. Ignoring Zhao's concerns, Song Ziqiang calmly tells him to follow her orders and not worry about the monster, reassuring him that someone will handle it. As if on cue, Chen Bai appears, gripping the mutated zombie's hand with his bone claws, rescuing Lu Li in the process, and the He soldiers quickly pull Lu Li to safety. Chen Bai nonchalantly says that he only gave the zombie a casual grab, but he almost dislocates his arm in the process. Realizing that the mutated zombie is far stronger than expected, he knows it can't be dealt with by brute force alone. The zombie swings its massive arm at Chen Bai, but he moves swiftly, slicing its arm multiple times with his bone claws. The force of Chen's strikes throws the creature off balance. While it struggles to regain its footing, the hero lands smoothly on the ground, standing calmly in front of the mad zombie, almost as if taunting it to come at him again. Captain Zhao and Song Ziqiang witness the mutant zombie swinging erratically and crashing into a nearby structure, sending broken concrete and chunks of flesh pouring down, destroying everything around it. The captain immediately turns to Song Ziqiang and asks who the hell Chen Bai is and whether or not she is hiding a monster of some sort. In a nonchalant manner, Song Ziqiang asks what he's even discussing, pointing out that the protagonist is a human being, and more significantly, her partner. The stupid modified zombie returns to the fight and freezes upon realizing that Chen Bai is standing victorious on top of the flesh, preventing it from feasting some more. Chen talks about how wasteful it is for the zombie to let all that meat go to waste before activating his skill, Evolution Devour. The zombie, pissed off by the sight of the protagonist devouring the flesh it desperately needs to recover, swings its arm again with fury. The force of the punch sends a whole bunch of wind towards Song Ziqiang and Captain Zhao like an airbender, but Chen Bai moves with agility, dodging the zombie's assault by leaping out of the building and into the air. Mid-leap, the system tells him that he has finished devouring the frozen beef, and the blacklight virus within him has evolved, slightly boosting his strength and endurance. Chen Bai smiles, acknowledging the quality of the beef. It not only restored his energy, but also gave him an upgrade. He notes that the zombie, now scrambling to recover inside the building, seems to be really tired and out of juice. The proto-guy positions himself behind the mutated zombie. With a calm yet ominous tone, he announces its demise, extending his bone claws. The zombie, sensing the inevitable, tries to react but is too slow. Chen Bai strikes it directly in the head, landing a decisive blow. Song Ziqiang and the captain stand in surprising silence as the towering creature falls to the ground, defeated by Chen's relentless power. Chen Bai stands on top of the mutated zombie's head, driving his claws deep into it. As he pulls his hand out, he's shocked to see the zombie's hand still moving. It almost crushes him between its massive fists, but the protagonist just thinks the timing couldn't be better. He sends out his tentacle-like aura, wrapping it around the zombie's giant hands to hold them back. Captain Zhao, watching all this, is freaking out. He's convinced it's impossible for anyone to handle that thing. Chen Bai uses his Evolution Devour ability, and the aura wraps tighter around the zombie, covering its entire body. Captain Zhao stares in horror, realizing there's no way Chen Bai is human. Song Ziqiang is surprised when Captain Zhao starts muttering about how the zombies aren't supposed to be able to move. He seems to be planning something. Nervously, Captain Zhao radios for backup, asking if reinforcements have arrived. He's ready to give the go-ahead to fire a missile, even starting to give the coordinates. But just then, someone taps him on the shoulder. Captain Zhao looks scared out of his mind when he turns and sees it's Song Ziqiang and Alin, giving him serious looks. Song Ziqiang tells him to calm down and think it through because Chen Bai is helping them right now. He's saved their lives, and she warns Zhao not to do anything stupid, or it'll be bad for everyone. A few minutes later, everyone lock and load their rifles. The reinforcements had arrived and quickly surrounded the protagonist. Song Zikyong is surprised when Captain Zhao, over the radio, orders everyone to load their weapons and stay alert. She rushes over to remind him of their earlier agreement, and he assures her that he hasn't forgotten. He promises not to give the attack order as long as Chen doesn't make any hostile moves. Meanwhile, the protagonist is focused, eyes closed, as he absorbs the mutated zombie. The system notifies him that he's gained a new ability, the variant Flesh Mountain Strength form, along with 500 virus points and a new talent called Virus Injection. Chenbai opens his eyes as the system announces that devouring the rare Flesh Mountain zombie has greatly boosted his Blacklight virus abilities. He starts to test his powers, swinging his bone claws through the air. The system tells him that he's gained another ability called Heavy Hammer for his left hand. Testing it out, he feels the sharp claws in his right hand and the immense power of the heavy hammer in his left. Chenbai feels real proud of his evolution, noting that the heavy hammer holds an incredible force. However, he feels a bit disappointed too, because there's nothing around to test its true power on just yet. The protagonist feels the power of the heavy hammer fading as he reaches into his pocket, realizing this was easily the biggest win of the day. He pulls out the Flesh Mountain core, staring at it. It's rare, valuable stuff, and he knows he could use it to make some crazy gear. He's already thinking about how, if he can figure out how to control it, he could even create a flesh wall that just grows endlessly. He wonders for a second if he should just feed it more and grow another Flesh Mountain right there to test his strength. But then Song Zikyong's voice pulls him out of his thoughts, and he quickly stashes the core back in his pocket. Song Zikyong is gesturing for him to come over, saying she's got someone to introduce. Lu Li walks up with a bright smile, and Chen immediately recognizes her. She's that famous journalist from Zhangcheng, the one all over the internet. He wonders if it was her who secretly filmed him back at the hospital. When Lu Li confirms it was her, she's all smiles, thanking him for saving her twice. Chenbai brushes it off, saying it was all just a coincidence. He asks if she managed to catch him in action when he took down the Flesh Mountain. Lu Li admits she did, but quickly offers to delete it if he's not cool with it. The protagonist tells her to keep it but just don't post it. He's got his own plans for it. She agrees, understanding what he means. Then the captain calls out to Chen, telling him their commander, Huang, wants a full explanation about everything, who Chen Bai is and what he knows. Chen looks at Zhao, standing behind the barricade a few meters away, and feels speechless for a moment. The name Huang Xingqiu triggers some serious memories. Chen remembers this commander from after the trials hit, how Huang used to coerce the weaker awakened ones, treating them like dirt, like they were livestock. At first, they'd try to sugarcoat it with patriotism and all that, but soon it just turned into straight-up abuse. Chenbai remembers being one of those people, barely surviving, starving, not even getting proper meals. What hits him hardest, though, is how ridiculous it was. Anyone who even thought about escaping was labeled a traitor, and the military would hunt them down like criminals. It's flashback time, and our hero remembers how all this mess forced him to leave Jiangcheng. Back in the present, he turns to Song Zikyong, asking if he should just go explain everything to Captain Zhao. But she quickly shoots that down, saying he definitely shouldn't. She's still in the dark about a lot of things. Chenbai smiles a bit, trying to reason with her, but she cuts him off, insisting she'll handle it. Song Zikyong strides confidently toward Captain Zhao. When he spots her coming, he talks about how he hopes they both understand their duties as citizens, but he gets cut off fast when the Superwoman stands right in front of him. She tells him to quit talking crap and to stop sounding like some official. She's not holding back, saying he's just a platoon leader and not qualified to boss her around. If Wang Xingqiu's got issues, he should come talk to her directly. Captain Zhao is left speechless by her boldness, and just then, a dude runs up to him, saying the isolated personnel are causing chaos and asking what they should do about it. When Chenbai hears that, he jumps in, asking if there's a guy named Liu Feng among them. The captain turns to the guy and asks, and the man confirms that yeah, Liu Feng is the biggest troublemaking loser. Chen then calls out to the captain, saying he wants to see the idiot loser boy. Captain Zhao orders the dude to bring him over, and the man salutes and takes off. A few moments later, Liu Feng shows up, looking all smug. He spots the captain and asks if he's the one looking for him, bragging about how his dad is the vice president of the first hospital, Liu Huanong. Suddenly, our hero taps the Zero on the shoulder, and before he could react, Chenbai uses his virus injection skill, injecting the zombie virus straight into him. Our protagonist casually tells Liu Feng that he's been looking for him because someone asked him to pass on a message. Liu Feng asks who he is, and Chenbai reveals that Su Xin told him last night in bed that she wants Liu Feng dead because of what he did with the zombies. Liu Feng panics as he nervously asks how Chenbai knows, insisting that Su Xin can't possibly be alive. Suddenly, Chenbai steps back, and everyone freezes when he warns them to back off because Lu Feng is about to become more useful by turning into a zombie. The stupid idiot, not buying it, argues that Chen Bai is the one about to turn and accuses him of messing with him. He can't believe that Su Xin would be with such a diseased youth. His rage builds, and dark veins start creeping up his head, consuming it. As he screams that Chen Bai will be dead, he starts growling. He's transforming into a zombie and charging at the hero. With no time to waste, Chen Bai activates his heavy hammer skill and delivers a powerful punch that obliterates the dummy. After the dust settles, he looks at the aftermath, feeling pretty pleased with himself. He says that the skill was more powerful than he expected. Meanwhile, Captain Zhao stands there, frozen in shock, covered in blood, wondering if he just witnessed a mutant hand and if Chen Bai is some kind of superhuman. Our hero turns to Song Ziqiang, and she jumps a little when he tells her she did okay, suggesting he could share some info when they get back. She walks up to him, suggesting he could call her Ziqiang or Song Jie from now on. This catches Chen Bai's interest, and he asks why the change. She explains she doesn't think it's worth it to just be his partner. Instead, she wonders if it's still possible for her to be one of those who want to be with him. Our hero is momentarily speechless but quickly replies that it all depends on her value and performance. A white car rolls down the empty street with Alan behind the wheel. Lu Li, Chen Bai, and Song Ziqiang are all passengers. Song Ziqiang turns to Chen Bai, saying it's perfect timing and asks him to come over for dinner. Chen Bai responds that she shouldn't bother him until they get to her place, and Song Ziqiang agrees. As they drive, Chen Bai decides it's time for the lottery draw to see if he scored any sweet rewards for taking down the meat mountain. He opens his inventory and is surprised to find 2 skill books. Feeling lucky, he says that it looks like his luck is holding up. One of the skill books contains the active skill Rampage Bloodlust, which boosts all attributes by 3 for 10 minutes, but's got a 1-day cooldown, during which all attributes drop by 50%. Chen Bai thinks about it and decides that skill isn't worth it for him. He checks the other book, which has the passive skill Muscle Enhancement. This one greatly increases muscle mass and doubles the growth rate of strength and constitution. Chen Bai shakes his head, saying it won't work for him since, from what he remembers, everyone who used it in his previous life turned into muscle-bound freaks, losing a lot of flexibility. Even though the skills aren't useful for him personally, he thinks they could be pretty valuable for someone just starting out in the trials. Chen Bai starts thinking about building a faction and checks his current money situation. He sees that the reward for killing the meat mountain is 6 gold coins, just enough to create a chat group. He figures he could use this chat group to gather pioneers and help them lay a solid foundation before the trial kicks off. As he's about to confirm the creation of the chat group, which costs 5 gold coins, Chen Bai reflects on how the factions in the later stages of the trial were pretty complex. He knows that the relationships formed early on are crucial for success. The system lets Chen Bai know he's about to create Chat Group 1. It asks him to name it or he can just let it auto-generate a name. Chen Bai decides to cancel the naming, and the system goes ahead and names it Chat Group 1. As he thinks about the name, he recalls Heloise and promises himself he's going to rebuild his White Emperor city and turn it into a divine kingdom. He's all fired up, declaring that Eloise will be nothing but a lowly dog under his feet. 3 hours later, they roll up to Song Ziqiang's private villa. She starts talking about the cosmic trial, pointing out that over 90% of people will end up as monsters or gifted evolvers. She adds that guns and most electronics will be useless. Chen Bai tells her that's all he can share for now and asks if that's enough for her to gain an edge. Song Ziqiang says it's not enough and cuts to the chase, asking how she can become one of his people. Chen Bai lays it out. First, she needs to have some real abilities because he doesn't want useless folks around. Second, he wants absolute loyalty, like a loyal dog to its master. Song Ziqiang jumps in, saying she can definitely provide that loyalty. She confidently claims her influence, money, and status in Jiangcheng make her more than qualified. But Chen Bai counters, saying that the rules and values after the trial are going to be totally new. Her current power, status, and cash won't mean much, other than making the idea of keeping her as a slave pretty tempting. Song Ziqiang starts to feel anxious, imagining herself and her brother Song Ge tied up on stage, while a host announces the next auction item, the former queen and princess of Jiangcheng. She asks Chen Bai what the difference would be between being a loyal dog to him and being a plaything somewhere else. Chen Bai explains that there will be a stage where she can show off her strength and a master who won't hold her back out of fear. He assures her that he'll always be stronger and above her, making it clear that his leadership comes with its own kind of power. Song Ziqiang suddenly feels like she's about to miss a major chance if she hesitates any longer. Without wasting a second, she kneels down and bows in front of Chen Bai, declaring she's ready to serve him as her master. Chen Bai is surprised but very pleased by this gesture. He thinks about how Song Ziqiang's reputation and status make her a valuable asset, and he's kinda excited about it. He lifts her chin and tells her to show him her charm in person because he's got some tasks for her to tackle. A little while later, Alan and Lu Li seem to get a message from Song Zikyong through the chat group. She's instructing Alan to have Lu Li send Chenbai's video to her and to take her home so she can rest after everything that's happened. She also wants them to find someone to keep Chenbai's posts up on major forums, especially the one titled To the Pioneers, with the post ID Pioneer White Emperor. Alan approaches Lu Li, telling her that Song Zikyong wants her to send Chenbai's video and take her home. Lu Li, hearing that, wonders if there's anything she can do to help. Alan relays that Song Zikyong feels Lu Li's been through a lot in the past couple of days and just needs to go home, reset, and chill out for a bit. Lu Li agrees, noting that even though she almost got eaten by zombies, the shock wasn't as intense as when she first saw one. She reflects on how Chenbai saved her earlier and wonders if it's because she's come to terms with the idea of dying at the hands of zombies, or if it's Chenbai's strength that makes her feel safe. A few moments later, someone calls the phone Chenbai is holding. He immediately recognizes it's Song Ge, calling from Song Zikyong's phone. As soon as the call connects, Song Ge jumps right in, asking if everything is okay since Alan mentioned she wanted her to come home. Chenbai picks up the call, and when he reveals it's him, Song Ge sounds so surprised. She asks why he has Song Zikyong's phone and where her mom is. Chenbai tells her that Song Zikyong is busy working and eating, so there's no time for a chat. He insists she should just come home to talk because it's super important. Song Ge agrees and tells him to wait for her at home since she sent him so many messages without a reply. But to her shock, Chenbai just hangs up on her. Song Ge feels embarrassed and mutters some curses under her breath, vowing to make him kneel under her pomegranate skirt one day. Meanwhile, Song Zikyong is still kneeling in front of Chenbai, calling him master and asking if he could also protect her daughter. Chenbai criticizes Song Ge, saying she's lacking in ability and that her character has been spoiled by too much indulgence. But he assures Song Zikyong that if she puts in the effort, there's a good chance Song Ge won't turn into a monster when the trial hits. Song Zikyong smiles with gratitude, thanking Chenbai. The next day, at a secret warehouse out in the suburbs, the place is empty. Inside the car, Song Ge is questioning Song Zikyong, wondering if she's being fooled by Chenbai and how she can believe something so out there. Calmly, Song Zikyong explains that she stopped Song Ge from looking for Chenbai the other night for that reason. She tells Song Ge that once they get out of the car, she shouldn't speak and should just be obedient, leaving Song Ge surprised. Meanwhile, outside the warehouse, Chenbai stands with Alan behind him. Alan reports that she checked out all the spots rumored to have zombies and monsters around the city. In the end, the warehouse is the only place that turned up anything. Alan then fills Chenbai in that the place used to be an underground casino, but now both the house and the gamblers inside have turned into zombies. There are about 160 of them, but she didn't find any special zombies like Meat Mountain. Chenbai thinks it over, wondering if this could be the zombie slaughterhouse. He figures it's unlikely since the hospital incident happened indoors, and Meat Mountain was tough to take down. This spot is remote, so if something went down, it'd be hard for anyone to remember or spread the word. He asks Alan if she checked out all the rumored places with zombies and monsters, and she confirms that this is the only one she found. Chenbai notes that it seems like someone is still collecting zombies like Pokémons. The place where they keep them should be the zombie slaughterhouse. He points out that the military is only brave enough to handle a few dozen zombies at a time, while this person is trying to gather them all. He wonders if this person is just a curious adventurer or a pioneer who knows more than the rest, and the thought of it gets him excited. Chenbai gets himself ready and shouts for them to open the door. Two guys yank it open, and it gets really rowdy as a horde of fierce zombies pop out. The dude opening the door looks terrified as zombies scramble to claw their way out, each trying to be the first to attack Chenbai. Without missing a beat, Chenbai kicks the first zombie that lunges at him. Sushin flinches, filming the whole thing, while Song Ge looks like she might pass out from horror. A bit later, Chenbai's in the zone, using virus absorption on one of the zombies. He's already taken down a mountain of them, and as he finishes with the last one, the system congratulates him for earning the title of Zombie Hunter after slaying over 300 zombies. It tells him the title boosts all his attributes by 5 and ramps up his damage against zombies by 5%. It also mentions that he's collected enough samples of zombie-class viruses to exchange for a zombie virus serum formula using his virus points in the talent tree. The protagonist gets super curious at the mention of the serum formula, thinking how valuable it is. Even those with awakened talents could struggle against zombie viruses. He unlocks the formula for 300 virus points, reminding himself that not everyone has talents that make them immune to viruses or boasts an ultra-strong physique. He calls over Song Zikyong and instructs her to gather everyone, checking if they all remember what he told them before they set off. She confirms she's ready, while Alan and Sushin look a bit nervous, and Song Ge has a disgusted look on her face, like she might hurl any second. Su-Xin steps up and explains that using cold weapons against zombies significantly lowers the chance of them turning into monsters during the trial. She emphasizes that killing zombies without harm is key to preventing transformation. Chen-Bai, gripping a zombie by the neck, looks around and commands them to show their strength, asking who want to go first. Alan steps up, putting on her gloves and volunteering for the challenge. Once Chen-Bai releases the zombie, Aline lunges forward, seizing its arm and swinging it up into the air. As the zombie crashes down, Song Ziqiang follows up with a swift hit from her bat, finishing it off. Chen-Bai watches, shaking his head. He notes that their strength falls short. Song Ziqiang knocks it down in one hit, but it takes them over 10 hits to finish it. Next, a zombie lies sprawled on the ground, and Su-Xin manages to eliminate it. But she's completely out of breath, lying underneath it. Chen-Bai complains again about their weak strength. Su-Xin only kills it due to her knowledge of human anatomy, having been tackled by the zombie. Song Ziqiang announces it's Song Gei's turn, but Song Gei looks utterly terrified, tears streaming down her face as she raises her bat. Suddenly, she pees herself and collapses to the ground, admitting she can't do it. Song Ziqiang rushes to comfort her, realizing that Song Gei needs more encouragement. Meanwhile, the protagonist checks his phone and sees that there are numerous comments on the post he made, but they're all a bunch of nonsense. One commenter even asks him which mental hospital he escaped from, and if he wants to write a novel. Chen-Bai feels appalled, shaking his head in disbelief at the caliber of this peak trolling. Suddenly, Chen-Bai notices a message from someone with the username, "I'm not a shill." This dude says he's really a pioneer and is wondering why Chen-Bai isn't replying. He asks what Chen-Bai knows and if he's even seen his messages. Chen-Bai realizes not everyone in this group is from Leslie, which is a win. "I'm not a shill" then asks what exactly a pioneer is. The protagonist flips the question back, asking what kind of talent he has. The dude finally admits he has S-level mental control but freaks out a bit, worried he shouldn't have shared that. Chen-Bai reassures him not to stress, saying he won't spill the beans either. He tells the guy to check the panel for communication options and to look for chat group 1, where some basic info is laid out. If he has more questions after that, he can just hit him up. As Chen is checking the chat group, he sees a new member pop up, someone named Han Zhao. This guy mentions wanting to change the group name. He then asks Chen-Bai if he can invite someone else. Chen-Bai asks who it is, and Han Zhao says it's someone named Shuichuan, who apparently has messaged Chen-Bai before. Since Shuichuan couldn't get through, he came to Han Zhao for a private chat. Han Zhao explains that Shuichuan was asking what he knew, but since he didn't have any info, he just ignored him. Chen-Bai is quite curious at the name. That has to be him. He remembers the super powerful dude known as Shuichuan and gets a bit excited. Typing quickly, he agrees and tells the boy that if he spots any other pioneers, he can invite them too. The protagonist laughs with satisfaction as the chat group welcomes their new member. Later that evening, Song Ziqiang calls Lu Li to check if there are any updates on the zombie collection investigation. She confirms there are results. She reveals it's the Jiangcheng Lord's forces behind this zombie collection, and that they've sent all the gathered zombies to the Manhwa container yard near the Jiangcheng wharf. Lu Li adds that she sent some random dude to gather more info, but it's time to meet, and they haven't returned. She thinks waiting any longer is pointless. Suddenly, 2 bodies drop right in front of Lu Li, and she gasps, covering her mouth to suppress a scream. She looks up to see a man laughing at her from above, clearly amused by her being scared, and he doesn't look like good news either. Lu Li's still trembling as she mutters that she's been discovered. Meanwhile, at Song Ziqiang's mansion, someone named Liu Huai sends a message to Chen-Bai, saying he just joined the group and has read the group documents. He learned a lot, but still has some questions since the talent instructions were a bit unclear. Liu Huai asks the protagonist if he could help him understand. Chen-Bai asks him to send over the details. He responds and shares that his talent is the yin wood body, which explains that yin wood is the most yin of woods and is a source of endless life. When the yin soul enters the body, it becomes a land of eternal life. When Chen-Bai sees this, he realizes it's an SS level talent. He notes that the cost of activating abilities is kinda high, considering the average initial ability of a normal person only lasts about 3 minutes with 5 points. Liu Huai agrees, saying that it's why he's been hesitant. Chen-Bai advises him that if his spirit isn't below 3, it costs spirit to activate the wood body. He explains that the constitution is the foundation, so he shouldn't be a glass cannon. Liu Huai replies that he has 5 spirits and thanks Chen-Bai for the info. Suddenly, someone rushes toward the protagonist. It's Song Ziqiang, and she looks worried. Chen-Bai asks what's going on with her in such a hurry. She says that Lu Li found out all the collected zombies have been sent to the Manhwa container yard. Unfortunately, Lu Li was caught, and they're asking her to negotiate. Chen-Bai stands up asking if the captors have contacted her, startling Song Ziqiang. She's horrified at the thought of Lu Li being betrayed. She quickly bows before Chen Bai, insisting that she raised Lu Li herself, so she's sure she wouldn't turn on them. Besides, Lu Li was commanding from behind when this happened, so the issue lies with the people she sent to investigate. Chen Bai says that in that case they need to save Lu Li. Meanwhile, at the Manikai container yard in Zone B, Lu Li finds herself tied down by the man from earlier. He addresses her by name, introducing himself as Xing Ming. He says that she seems a bit clueless about the situation. He hasn't touched yet her out of respect for Song Ziqiang, but he makes it clear that if Song Ziqiang chooses to submit when she arrives, Lu Li will become her subordinate. The evil dude warns Lu Li that if her mistress doesn't comply, they'll all become his playthings. Lu Li trembles, struggling against the ropes as Xing Ming hands her a drink, suggesting they toast again and that she shouldn't spit it out so recklessly. Lu Li refuses, looking away in disgust. Suddenly, a voice cuts in, noting that it's toast and not drunk, and that punishment wine isn't pleasant. It's our hero, Chen Bai, casually slicing into a steak. What an entrance by our protagonist. He says that there's no grace in the situation, so maybe she doesn't like drinking. Both Xingmeng and Lu Li are surprised to see him. Xingmeng is hella confused, wondering when the protagonist sat down. Chen Bai turns to his woman, asking if she's hungry, and hands her a slice of steak, and tells her that he's tried it, and it's not bad. The antagonist, now on high alert, asks Chen Bai who the hell he is. Chen Bai casually explains that he's there to take his woman home, while she enjoys the steak despite still being tied up. Xingming takes a seat and asks if Song Ziqiang sent him. He shakes his head, then points out that if he got that close without being noticed, he must be a pioneer too. Just like that, the ropes restraining Lu Li fall to the floor. Chen Bai tells her that she can leave since her madam is waiting for her in the car outside. She gets up immediately and leaves. Xingmeng says that it seems Song Ziqiang is already under Chen Bai's control, and our hero confirms it, with the most relaxed expression known to man. Xingmeng Stan says that it's unlikely the Queen of Jiangcheng would surrender easily, so Chen Bai must have some interesting methods. Pouring wine into 2 glasses like some classy vampire villain, Xingmeng proposes they exchange ideas since he's very interested in those things. He points out that in the big 3 powers of Jiangcheng, he has taken down the Lord, and Chen Bai has the Queen on his side, leaving just the commander. He hands his acquaintance a glass of wine, suggesting that they team up so he can become the king of Jiangcheng, making Chen Bai a trusted ally, but Chen Bai immediately refuses. Xingmeng is surprised, dropping the glasses and making them smash on the floor. He tries to reassure Chen Bai, saying not to worry because he has S-level talent, the highest there is. He even asks if he wants to join him for a sip of punishment wine. Chen Bai thinks about it and points out that he has seen Xingming not just collecting zombies, but also turning living people into them. He says that with such a powerful but twisted talent, Xingming is better off not existing. Chen Bai declares that Xingming doesn't deserve his help because he has SSS level talent. Xingmeng just laughs, showing off his sharp claws and explaining his talent, slaughter progression, which lets him permanently steal parts of a target's attributes after taking them out. He notes that while Chen Bai's talent is SSS, he is still worried that his own S-level ability could turn him into a god instantly. Chen Bai thinks to himself that Xingmeng's ability is dangerous, a pure combat talent that could grow endlessly. The antagonist charges at our protagonist, calling him an arrogant brat. He is eager to take Chen Bai down and hopes to boost his own stats with the victory. Their powerful strikes meet in the air, with Chen Bai using his bone claws to block Xingmeng's attack. Suddenly, Xingmeng's muscles bulk up, tearing his shirt apart. He basically goes Super Saiyan like Broly does. He realizes Chen Bai has a shape-shifting talent, which is quite interesting, but he figures Chen Bai still doesn't have enough strength. Meanwhile, Chen Bai notices Xingmeng using a skill, guessing that Xingmeng hasn't fully revealed what he can do. While Chen Bai is careful, unsure of the effects of Xingmeng's skill, the dude leaps into the air, ready to strike and shouts for him to go to hell. Chen Bai activates his heavy hammer skill, bracing for the impact. When their attacks collide, a massive force field erupts around them, shaking everything nearby. When the protagonist charges at him with his bone claws, Xingmeng gets tossed into the air like a frisbee, but still manages to land on his feet. He quickly grabs Chen Bai's arm, and they are set to exchange punches again. Suddenly, Xingmeng opens his hand, blocking his punch with his palm instead. He asks Chen Bai if he is alright, teasing that he doesn't think he has much strength left. As they struggle to push each other, Xingmeng asks him whether he really is an SSS talent. He asks him to stop hiding and show his real power. Chen Bai calmly replies that he is already using his talent, but he just doesn't see it. Xingmeng shoves him away, telling him to quit it with the BS. But then Chen Bai gets worried as he sees Xingmeng swing his claws, sending him crashing into one of the containers. Xingmeng taunts that his strength, physique, and agility are all below his level, and calls out how Chen Bai is just pretending to be tough. However, Xingming's confidence takes a trip to downtown when he suddenly starts coughing up blood. He looks confused and terrified as a flood of system notifications hits him, revealing that various viruses have overwhelmed his physical immunity. His attributes drop fast, and he gets hit with negative buffs like fear of light and water, odd body temperature, slow thinking, sluggish movement, and higher stamina consumption. In the wreckage of the container, Chenbai makes fun of the big talking loser, talking about how impressive his physique is that it takes so long for the virus to kick in. He asks him how it feels to be dealing with so many illnesses at once. Xingmeng is furious, calling his opponent a sneaky bastard as he charges at him, but Xingmeng is already weakened, making it easy for Chenbai to impale him with his bone claws right through the chest. Chenbai activates his skill, Evolution Devour, bragging about how he told Xingmeng he is different, and it's a shame he didn't believe him. As the tentacle-like aura completely wraps around him, Chen announces that he is going to absorb him and save the spoils for later, not wanting to disappoint Xingming. As the evil loser's claw drops to the ground, Chenbai gets a system notification that the evolved human has been absorbed, and the black light virus has completed its initial awakening, boosting its attributes significantly and becoming the base attribute of the virus monarch's body. At least that's the end of that annoying noisemaker. The system buzzes in Chenbai's head, letting him know his black light devouring ability just leveled up. Now he can peek into his target's memories and snag some of their sweet skills. Talk about an upgrade. Chen's stoked because the bonuses from the black light virus switch from being active to base attributes, which is like hitting the jackpot. He can't wait to see what he's gained. Before, he was rolling with a 30% boost to strength, 20% to spirit, and a ridiculous 100% for regeneration. But now, the system shows his strength, agility, and physique got cranked up by 50%, spirit by 40%, and life regeneration by a whopping 200%. His character profile even gives him the title of the first evolved human. He checks out his stats and is very pleased. Each attribute went up by 20 points, adding some serious muscle to his base stats. Then he spots Xingming's dropped claw and realizes he can't be messing around anymore. Regular folks with basic stats below 5 are basically made of glass to him now. He laughs at the system screen and thinks how lucky Xingming is to have all those cool weapons and stuff. He figures Xingming must have taken out some mutant zombies, because there's no way he could have those kinds of stats and gear otherwise. Chen grabs the zombie claws, which are E-level gear, not much to write home about, and also snags a C-level production blueprint for a biohazard disaster. He's pretty shocked and thinks Xingming's luck is off the charts. After closing the system screen, he decides that everything here is now his. Under the light of the crescent moon, he takes a moment to admire the wreckage from their fight. As he strolls away, he reflects on how far he's come. His talent jumped from E to SSS, and those rumors about the 3 strange events totally paid off. Plus, he's got Song Ziqiang under his thumb, who's set to be the future lord of Jiangcheng. Just then, Lu Li and Song Ziqiang spot him and swing the car doors open, inviting him in. Chenbai says that with his current power, chasing down random monsters before the trial would be a waste of time. Instead, he suggests they use the last few days before the trial to organize and prepare for what is coming next. A few days later, the night at Song Ziqiang's villa is chill. Chenbai stands by the huge glass windows, peering out over the city. He knows the trial is about to go down. Suddenly there's a knock on the door. He calls for them to come in, and the door creaks open. In strolls Lu Li, Su Xin, and Song Ziqiang, with Song Ziqiang announcing they wrapped up everything he asked for just in time. Lu Li reports they've nailed down the terrain and population details around the Peak Villa area. When doomsday hits, they'll be ready to clean house, take control, and start flexing their power right away. Su Xin, looking a bit awkward with her notes, adds that they've finalized the material purchases and sent the list over to Chenbai. Chenbai gives them a thumbs up, noting that they've confirmed their prep work. Since time is ticking away, Song Ziqiang asks what else he wants them to tackle. Chen checks his phone and says there's nothing else. Everything's good to go. He figures it's time to drop all the info on the table, so he fires off a message in the group chat, letting everyone know they've got just 10 minutes until the trials kick off. He reminds them not to get too comfy with their early advantage and rare talents. They've got to stay cool because the trials are about to unleash some crazy stuff, and he doesn't want anyone disappearing in 10 minutes. One of the group members thanks Chenbai for the heads up. Another says thanks for the reminder and points out that there are 9 minutes left. Someone else chimes in, saying 8 minutes remain, and they're pumped to dive in. Another member tells everyone to chill because there are still 7 minutes on the clock. Then a girl admits she's super nervous, calling out to Chenbai. Master of Lightning jumps in, saying there are only 5 minutes left, and tells the girl not to sweat it because they've got each other's backs. Crow pipes up, saying there are 4 minutes remaining and he's stoked for what's coming. Tin Tin is just sitting there, totally speechless. probably lost in the moment. Suddenly, Chen Bai tells everyone to look out at the city as the countdown hits 9 seconds. He says that soon, this peaceful scene will be a thing of the past. With 7 seconds left, he dramatically declares that the world is coming to an end. Song Gae starts shaking, calling out to Alan and admitting she's a bit scared with just 5 seconds remaining. Alan reassures her, telling her not to be afraid. With 4 seconds left, both Su Xin and Song Zikyong are anxiously glued to the window, and Lu Li looks super jittery with 3 seconds to go. Meanwhile, Chen Bai is buzzing with excitement as the clock hits 2 seconds. When the clock finally hits 0 on June 15th, the trials begin. The entire city lights up in a fiery red, like the infinite Tsukuyomi is happening, and everything collapses in an instant. The Blue Star Doomsday trial officially kicks off, and it was really bad, looking like a zombie apocalypse set to insane. Surviving humans evolve, gaining innate abilities and leveling up by racking up experience points. Other races that popped up during the trial are now joining this wild fight for survival. The Blue Planet becomes a proving ground filled with secret realms and world rifts, where it's anyone's guess whether they'll find danger or opportunity. Chen Bai stares out as the city falls apart, watching an aircraft falling to its doom. Suddenly, the system notifies him that the hourglass of time is recognized and is currently binding. He panics a bit as he realizes his friends are still in the room. That hourglass shouldn't be known to anyone, so he turns and shouts for them to get out immediately, but his words catch in his throat. He's surprised by what he sees. Everyone else is frozen in time. Chen Bai stands there, dumbfounded. He looks back out the window, where everything is also frozen. Even the airplane hangs suspended mid-air like Father Time just got bored and went to sleep. And then it hits him hard. Time has stopped. No shoot, Sherlock. Glowing orbs of energy start swirling around the hourglass, and there are tons of them, all moving toward Chen Bai. He watches in as the hourglass begins to absorb these energy orbs. Then the system gives him the lowdown. The hourglass of time is a soul-binding item that's now successfully bound to him. It has the wild skill to rewind to any moment in the past and wipe out everything gained in that lost timeline. But it comes with a hefty cooldown of 72 years, 6 months, and 7 days, and there's no way to tweak that cooldown with any skill or equipment. Chen Bai feels so much excitement and also dread at the power he now holds, knowing that it could change everything. When Chen Bai sees the notification, he realizes he might have just stumbled onto a game-changing opportunity to essentially be reborn thanks to the hourglass. He gets blown away by the skills it grants him: Status Save and Status Read. Status Save marks his current physical, mental, and skill status with no cooldown, while Status Read lets him access that saved status, but it doesn't mess with any items or memories he holds. The cooldown for Status Read is just 1 hour, and both skills require soul binding. This makes our diseased harem boss very happy, as this is an insane lifesaver with only a 1 hour cooldown. When time starts flowing again, Song Zikyong suddenly says that she feels like Chen Bai called out to them. She asks if he has any orders or if she just misheard. Chen Bai confirms she heard him right and tells them to check on the villa's safety as soon as possible. He says that the night is super dangerous, asking everyone to stay alert and start clearing the villa area at dawn. Song Zikyong, Su Xin, and Lu Li agree to this, ready to back him up. The next day, the city looks like Omni-Man was just done with it, with fires breaking out everywhere. Back at Song Zikyong's villa, a horde of zombies charges towards them. Without skipping a beat, Song Zikyong taps into her amethyst eyes, an S-class talent that can turn objects into amethyst or illuminate them for offensive and defensive moves, its power increasing with her summons. She conjures a sword from the amethyst light and charges forward, using her Insight Crystal skill to analyze the incoming threat. Focusing on one zombie, she sees it's just an ordinary adult male, but it's been infected with the zombie virus in its bites and scratches, and its weak spot is obviously its head. She quickly beheads the zombie in very smooth anti-zombie fashion, but as she catches her breath, she notices someone standing on high ground behind the horde, eyeing them like a dope ninja in the shadows. It's definitely showtime. It turns out to be Aylin, an assassin with the codename Assassin A. Her class talent lets her make her presence undetectable, practically invisible, while boosting her strength and senses. She's lethal in the shadows, gaining a 30% agility boost and a 100% increase in attack speed for her first strike on any target. As she jumps down from her vantage point, she slices through the zombies in her path with precision, her knife flashing like she's auditioning for a Samurai Jack showdown. Back at the villa's lobby, a bodyguard rushes in carrying an injured man, declaring that they've found a wounded survivor. Su Xin, whose B-class high-speed recovery talent allows her to rapidly heal injuries and restore stamina, basically being Sakura but useful, is busy tending to the wounded. When she sees the new arrival, she quickly asks the bodyguard to administer the zombie serum, promising to treat him right away. By evening, the villa is calm, the earlier chaos reducing as they lock down the area. Chen Bai approaches Lu Li, saying that things are looking pretty solid at the moment. Lu Li agrees, pointing out that with Chen Bai's earlier planning, they've secured territory and have the people they need. Watching the guards posted around the villa, Lu Li says that no major incidents have happened yet. Chen Bai assures her that he'll leave handling the villa to her since he has more important tasks to focus on, which surprises Lu Li. Though caught off guard, she reluctantly agrees to take charge of the situation, clearly unsure but trusting his judgment. Lu Li's skirt flies up when Chen Bai suddenly leaps into the air, thanks to the strong wind he creates. A little later, on Jiangcheng Mountain Road, Chen Bai sprints like a champ. He thinks about how annoying it is that things like cars and guns are useless in the early days of the Doomsday Trial. But with his speed now, he figures he can get where he needs to go pretty quickly. He remembers the first day of the Doomsday when he spots that sign hanging in the sky over Jiangcheng City University. It takes him a while to figure out what it means, and by then, it's too late to do anything about it. But he is determined now, he has to grab that chance. A bit later, he zooms into Jiangcheng University, taking out a bunch of zombies that try to attack him with his skills. Looking up at the sky, he can feel something big about to go down. The light shining above feels like the sign all evolvers want to see. It's here. The avatar of God is about to show up, and it's right in front of him. Just then, a mysterious someone calls his attention. He tells Chen Bai that there aren't many people as strong as him in the early days of the trial. He tells Chen Bai that he's a merchant, and asks him if he would be willing to do business with him. Chen Bai replies that he would be more than happy to do business with him. In fact, he would be honored. The merchant replies that there's nothing to be honored about, as it's just a simple trade with a simple merchant. Chen Bai tells him that he has the honor of hearing his name after seeing his symbol, as he's been looking forward to meeting him. While coming towards him, Chen Bai calls him kind, fair, generous, rich, and powerful, and finally identifies him as the god of trading, Lord Leto, who just stands there looking like an even more cunning Arsène Lupin. Lord Leto hands Chen Bai a card and says he's very flattered. He says they must be destined to meet and gives him his gold membership card for the Goblin Chamber of Commerce. With this card, Chen Bai will get a sweet 12% discount on items. Chen Bai thinks back to his last life when he met Lord Leto. He was immune to flattery then, so he appreciates Leto's kind words now. He thanks Leto, saying he's just as generous as everyone said. Leto agrees and starts showing off his products. First up is the Great S Thunderwalker Scroll, a super powerful profession that channels thunder to smash enemies and is great for melee combat. The price? A hefty 500 W gold coins. Next is the S-Rank Reaper's Touch Legendary Sniper Rifle, crafted by the Dwarf God, which can only be used by firearm professionals. Chen Bai is surprised he recognizes the Thunderwalker profession scroll from his previous life. He remembers buying it along with many other valuable items. He apologizes to Lord Leto, admitting he wants to buy everything but just can't afford it right now. Lord Leto smiles, saying he's heard whispers about a treasure in his hands that every god wants, and no evolver could refuse it either. He tells the protagonist that if he invests in him, he won't regret it. The Goblin Lord materializes a seat and sits down, looking serious. He explains that any investment must be profitable, something all gods want. He asks Chen what makes him think he can give him more than it's worth. Lord Leto stares intently at the protagonist, making it clear that even admiration doesn't guarantee a good business deal. Suddenly, Chen Bai activates his skill, Bone Claws on his right hand, and then he uses Heavy Hammer on his left. He shows off his SSS class talent to Lord Leto, asking him to take a good look. Lord Leto gets very surprised as he sees the SSS talent. He is clearly impressed, and says that it's a unique talent, unlike anything he's seen before. Leto notes how interesting and tempting the Blue Star Trial Ground is, but says he's not ready to invest just yet. He stands up from his seat and decides to give the protagonist a chance. He warns him to cherish this opportunity, because if he weren't so gifted, and didn't carry the aura of another god, Leto wouldn't be considering this at all. Chen gets real excited and eagerly asks Leto if he can get that precious investment. Lord Leto waves a finger at him, shaking his head. He explains that talent alone isn't enough because it doesn't guarantee success. He mentions that among the gods, some have less than level talent but still thrive. To secure Leto's high-level investment, he needs to prove his worth through strength and growth. Suddenly, a mission notice pops up from the system. It says that the god of goblins and trading, Leto, has issued an SSS-ranked mission called The Ultimate Investment. Chen doesn't hesitate and quickly agrees. Leto flicks a coin in Chen's direction, explaining that once he completes the mission, he can use the coin to summon Leto's shadow. He hopes Chen Bai won't keep him waiting too long. The protagonist effortlessly catches the coin and calls out to Leto, asking him to show the treasure that all gods desire. Leto smiles and reveals the SSS grade special item, the Dual Profession Scroll. This scroll allows the user to have dual professions, granting them attribute growth, bonuses, and skills from both professions at the same time. Chenbai got really excited at the sight of the scroll. Leto announces that the transaction is complete and it's time for him to leave. As he begins to disappear, he mentions that today's harvest was quite pleasant, and expresses hope that the protagonist can complete the mission. Once Leto is gone, Chen opens the mission panel. The description outlines what he needs to do to secure Leto's valuable investment. He must find a special copy at Zhangcheng University, defeat the creature inside that Leto is interested in, and obtain a part of its body to present to Leto. But Leto gets to decide the reward, and Chenbai thinks that's pretty clever for a god of trade. He recalls how Lord Leto had a solid reputation in his past life. If he does a good job, he figures he won't come out empty-handed. Still, he wonders if there's a secret realm hidden in the university since he never heard of one before. The protagonist starts moving, pondering where to begin his search. Meanwhile, at the Zhangcheng University Gymnasium, chaos reigns inside. The door is barricaded, and 3 people bully a group of students. A big muscular man, Tom, towers over the beaten men on the floor. He's demanding the students strip and beg to be his slaves, threatening them with death if they don't comply. He calls them lowly monkeys, laughing as he pushes them around. One of the beaten men, furious, calls Tom a pig bastard and declares he'd rather die than submit. Tom smirks, warning them they'll suffer before they die. A voluptuous woman standing with Tom warns him he's going too far, but he slaps her across the face and tells her to shut up. Just then, the gymnasium door explodes, sending dust and debris flying everywhere. Everyone gasps in shock. Chenbai stands in the doorway, having destroyed the entrance. He calls out Tom, questioning him about the students. Tom, feeling proud, admits to it and challenges Chenbai, not realizing that Chenbai has already disappeared from his spot. Suddenly, Chenbai reappears right in front of Tom, using his bone claws skill. He slashes at Tom, telling him to go to hell. The other guy with Tom panics and charges at Chenbai from behind, throwing a punch. Blood sprays everywhere as Chenbai quickly takes him out. Some of the blood splatters on the woman's face and she stares in horror. While he's still grabbing the man's head with his bone claws, Chenbai asks the other students if any of them were in the medical faculty, and says that he needs help from someone who is familiar with the medical faculty. As the students get up, one of them asks if anyone is from the medical facility. One guy shakes his head and says he's a civil engineer, while another guy mentions he's just a foreign language student. Then, someone points to the woman with Tom, and they all remember she's from the medical facility. When Chenbai turns to the woman, she jumps back, begging him not to kill her because she hasn't hurt anyone. She looks super scared and says she loves Dragon Nation, China, and she's white with a horny heart. It turns out she's a foreign student who can't speak Chinese well, and she totally messes up the words, making it super embarrassing. Chenbai just stares at her, lost for words, while the guys laugh, and one of the girls looks away, feeling awkward. The woman begs Chenbai to spare her, saying she'll do anything. Another female student jumps in, arguing that the woman didn't hurt anyone and was even trying to stop the 2 guys. Chenbai agrees to it, saying he gets it. A little later, they all step out of the gym. Chenbai points to the chick, telling her to stay put while the others can leave. He explains that when they get out, they should follow the zombie corpses to Zhangcheng Dongshan Villa and mention his name, Chenbai, so the people there can help them. One student asks if they're really going out with zombies still around, and another asks how far Dongshan Villa is. Another student confirms it's quite a distance. Chenbai reassures them that he's taken care of most of the zombies on the way, so they don't need to worry too much. He reminds them that they're all alive and have become gifted evolvers too. Then he challenges them, asking what they'll do when the zombies and monsters start multiplying if they're too scared to face them now. When he says they'd be as good as dead, everyone goes quiet. Finally, one student breaks the silence, thanking Chenbai and saying they'll leave right away. A few moments later, after the students leave, the woman asks Chenbai if she can go with them, and wonders why he's keeping her there. Chenbai just stands there, speechless. The woman blushes as she suddenly realizes something. She suggests that maybe she gets it now. Students in the Dragon Kingdom love foreign girls. Chenbai tells her that she greatly misunderstood him. He says that he's not interested in a horse that's been ridden by 1,000 people. He only needs stuff from the medical faculty. Sick burn. She stands there flustered but tells Chenbai that he can't insult her like that. She tells him that she hasn't been ridden by 1,000 people. Neither has she been ridden by anyone at all, and she's got proof. Chenbai smiles in agreement and off they go. They arrive at the university stadium and the girl tells Chenbai that they need to take a break as she's very tired. She's been even walking barefoot this whole time, but Chenbai disagrees. He grabs the woman by the waist and tells her they need to go. The woman gets startled as Chen-bai drags her, and she screams when her shirt gets left behind. A few moments later, they're outside the research building and she's out of breath. She starts complaining, saying that Chen-bai is too pushy and that she almost lost her shirt if she hadn't hooked her foot in it. But Chen-bai ignores her and asks if this is the research building. The lady explains that there's a research room on the 3rd floor that only professors can enter. She says it's full of samples and info about bacteria and viruses. As they enter the building, she adds that the side door leading underground isn't a garage, it's Mr. Oshi's house and the incinerator. If there's anything hidden in the medical department, that's the only place she can think of. Chen-bai agrees and tells her to follow him. A few moments later, they walk into a lab filled with different samples and machines. Chen-bai is blown away when they step inside. He looks super happy, thinking he never expected Jiangcheng University to have such a treasure. As he starts absorbing samples from the vials, the system pops up, letting him know he's acquired a temperature-sensitive mutated influenza D virus for the first time, earning 5 virus points. It keeps notifying him about different variations of the influenza virus, and he gains small points with each one. Chen-bai notices that it's mostly flu viruses, which makes sense since it is still a school. Suddenly, the system tells him he has enough influenza viruses, and the points needed to upgrade influenza to a skill go down. Chen-bai feels amused when he sees he can upgrade influenza to a skill, so he decides to give it a shot. The system notifies him that the upgrade is a success, and now he has the influenza skill. This ability releases a flu virus that infects a target within its range, lowering all their attributes and adding a condition called sneeze. When this kicks in, it interrupts all chance-based actions, accumulations, and aiming. The effects depend on the target's race and physical condition. Chen-bai is excited and thinks it's super strong. The interrupt and control aspect of sneeze is amazing. He remembers not focusing much on the virus when he was checking out the talent tree, and now he realizes he should have paid more attention to it for upgrades. The SSS level talent he has is pretty terrifying. Chen-bai knows he still has some virus points left. The trial from Lord Leto won't be easy, so he figures it's time to boost his strength. He opens the Blacklight virus skill tree. A few moments later, he unlocks some passive upgrades. The first one, flying, lets him cling to any surface with the Blacklight virus, which really boosts his balance. The second upgrade, concentration, enhances his dynamic vision, reflexes, and control over all his muscles. Chen-bai raises his fist, feeling his muscles vibrate, and he's surprised to find he can control them all, so he pulls out his arm to test it out, and suddenly, the wall of the laboratory starts to break with so many cracks, and the girl is surprised. The lady wonders how Chen-bai did that with just a feint punch, and as she recalls what happened earlier, she thinks that it was a good thing Chen-bai didn't use it before, or she would be dead. While on the other hand, Chen-bai thinks that he could see that if one could control their muscles, they could throw a blow regardless of size, and even a fraction of a millimeter is enough to throw a full power punch. When Chen-bai walks towards the woman, he notices her reaction, so he asks her what she was blushing about, and when the woman replies it was nothing, Chen-bai says that there's nothing for him there, so they should go to Mr. Oshi's place. A few moments later, they're underground in the virus research laboratory at the teacher's repository, and as they walk in there, the woman looks scared as she called Chen-bai and says that there was no electricity there, so it was so dark. Chen-bai suddenly stops in caution that the girl shouldn't move because he could feel it, but the girl couldn't stop on time, and she bumps into Chen-bai's back. Apparently, they are standing in front of the incineration room, and Chen-bai declares that it was right there. Chen-bai opens the doors to the incineration room, and as he enters, he asks the girl to stay there, but she admits that she was scared. Chen-bai pays no attention to what the girl is saying, and as he stands in front of a portal, the system asks him if he's sure that he wants to enter the dungeon, the cold incinerator, which has a recommended level of 510. He reaches out to the array and says yes, and in a flash, Chen-bai finds himself in a room full of beds. The system notifies him that he's entered the special dungeon. The cold incinerator can become a permanent place if he clears it, but if he doesn't do it within 2 days, it will disappear forever. Chen-bai realizes that's why he never heard about this place before. And suddenly, the bodies under the blanket start moving, giving haunted house vibes. Chen-bai immediately uses his skill, Bone Claws, and says that it was coming. Some mutant zombie weirdos start jumping down from the ceiling. Some even have multiple limbs like some kind of zombie urchins. One of the mutant zombies is stuck to the ceiling like expired Spider-Man, ready to attack Chen-bai from above, while another one runs at him from the front. Chen-bai swipes at the ground mutant with his Bone Claws, slicing it apart. The system notifies him that he's just killed a level 5 resurrected body and gained 400 experience points. He looks up and sees the mutant zombie on the ceiling gathering energy in its mouth. It shoots a powerful whirlwind of energy at him, but he dodges it just in time. Chen Bai smiles, thinking it's no surprise they didn't both attack at once. That's their tactic. He jumps off the ground, noting that the ceiling zombie's thrust is pretty slow. He uses his heavy hammer skill and pulls off his usual catchphrase, telling the mutant zombie to go to hell. His punch sends the zombie crashing into the ceiling. The system alerts him that he's just killed a level 7 Splicer infant spider and gained 1,000 experience points. As he lands back on the floor with the dead zombie, he shows excitement about how special this dungeon is, packed with experience points like some Minecraft XP farm. Seeing the other mutant zombies waking up from their beds, Chen Bai thinks it's time to hurry up. He's feeling pumped and shouts that the more, the merrier. As he attacks and takes out the mutant zombies one after another, the system keeps chiming in, giving him 400 and 1,000 experience points like it's a video game. A bit later, the system tells Chen Bai he's leveled up to level 4 and earned 2 free attribute points. But then he hears something banging hard on the incinerator door. Chen Bai moves closer and taunts it, saying all its minions are dead and wonders if he should come help it out. Suddenly, the door bursts open from the inside. Chen Bai's heart races as he watches a huge blob of a monster ooze out of the incinerator. He's totally freaked out, wondering how that piece of meat gives him the creeps. As the blob starts to grow limbs, he knows he has to kill that irritating piece of abomination before it fully transforms. When Chen Bai goes in for the attack, the blob's limbs quickly grow and block him. Not backing down, he uses his evolved flu virus and blows it right at the blob. As it starts to form a torso, the system pops up and says his skill has no effect. The blob attacks back, sending Chen Bai flying into the ceiling. He clicks his tongue, watching his flu virus fade away. Turns out he's up against a biomaniac that can heal itself. The biomaniac looks up at Chen Bai and jumps to attack him. Chen Bai charges back, and they start trading blows. But no matter how much damage Chen Bai dishes out, the biomaniac just heals up instantly. Chen Bai thinks he hasn't fought at full strength since being reborn, and if he doesn't get back in shape soon, he might get rusty. He decides he's going to use this biomaniac to get his groove back. 1 hour passes, and Chen Bai is still in the thick of it, but the biomaniac just keeps regenerating. Chen Bai, finding it amusing, asks if it has infinite regeneration. He uses his skill, Status Read, which resets his body to perfect condition, and he thinks it's time to test if this thing is really immortal. After another hour, Chen Bai manages to chop off one of its limbs. He notices it's taking a lot longer for the biomaniac to heal now and asks if this thing is ever going to stop being a pain in the booty and quit healing at some point. Another hour drags on, and the biomaniac's shaking like a leaf, flopping to the ground. Chen Bai, looking bummed, sighs, thinking he didn't get to have enough fun. An hour later, the poor thing has shriveled back to its blob form, looking all defeated. Chen Bai figures, yep, it's done for. He steps on the blob and it splatters everywhere like popping a gross water balloon. The system sends a notification, all official-like, telling him he just killed the level 8 boss, Biomaniac, and bagged a sweet 10,000 XP, leveling him up to 5. He gets 2 free attribute points and a heads up that the dungeon's cleared, so he can leave anytime. The system also lets him know the cooled incinerator dungeon's now permanent, but it'll have a 3-day cooldown before he can jump back in. Then, the system casually asks if he wants to upload his dungeon run as a paid video guide, offering him the chance to hide his face, ID, and name. Chen Bai asks it to upload it but hide his mugshot. Meanwhile, over at Song Ziqiang's villa, Su Xin is chilling with her, healing her up. Song Ziqiang looks surprised when something white catches her eye, leaving Su Xin confused. Then, they both get a notification in their group chat. Turns out, someone named Evolver White, obviously Chen Bai, has dropped a nightmare-level dungeon-clearing video of the cooled incinerator for the low price of just 1 copper coin. Without hesitation, both Song Ziqiang and Su Xin agree, yep, they gotta watch that. And, well, they aren't the only ones. Everyone in Chen Bai's group chat is tuning in too. Some of the group members look super hyped, while others seem stressed out. Alin is absolutely shocked when she sees the video. She has to slow it down just to catch what's going on. One young guy in the group is over the moon, pumped up, thinking the fight was epic and fierce. Then there's the muscular dude who's not so sure about things. He's quite confused, wondering how the monster's recovery seemed better than Chen Bai's. He's thinking maybe Chen Bai shouldn't have fought that way. Meanwhile, a young lady is feeling relieved, happy to see that Chen Bai had fully recovered during the fight. Messages start pouring into the group chat, everyone buzzing. One person, known as Heir to the 5 Lightning Whips, that's one hell of a nickname. Another person boldly declares their undying love for Chen Bai, saying they'll always be ready for him. Someone named Leaf admits they've been bad and asks when Chen Bai's coming to Yingcheng, promising to give him a warm welcome. Tyrant sends one in. noting that Chenbai's ability to instantly heal seems pretty much unstoppable. Crow compares, realizing they struggle with just 10 zombies, and wonders if there's really that much of a gap between SS rank and SSS rank talents. I'm really not a sword fairy is having a hard time wrapping their head around how bosses at level 5 or 10 could be so tough. They're thinking it doesn't even make sense, asking how they're supposed to get to that level when they hit level 10. The only trash in the group jumps in, wondering if there's some hidden trick to beating the dungeon that Chenbai just blew past with his overpowered abilities. True Void totally agrees, saying Chenbai's strength is so ridiculous that he's pretty much shattered any normal way of solving the dungeon. Chenbai wraps up absorbing all the mutant zombies he just destroyed, and the system pops up with some good news. Turns out, he's gobbled up some special complex mutant, which means he just scored 300 black light virus evolution points. He quickly explains to himself that the black light virus has its own points for evolving, separate from his regular virus talent points. Only thing is, those points only boost his black light virus abilities and skills. But hey, it's still pretty sweet. Then the system sends another notification. This time it's good news. His black light virus evolves, making his recovery speed shoot up by 300%. On top of that, it activates a passive ability, snagging the Biomaniac's skill, Greatest Cell Regeneration. The system says this passive skill lets him regenerate super fast by using up some of his stamina or energy, and if he ever loses a limb, boom, he can grow it back. He can even switch the regeneration on and off. Chenbai is stoked, thinking this is awesome because getting a passive skill is rare, and this one is a whole level up. Finally, he's itching to see what goodies the nightmare level boss dropped. He strolls over to the floor where 3 shiny items are just waiting for him to scoop them up. Chenbai takes a look at the loot and finds a level-unique Biodemon Professional Scroll. It's an evil profession that lets you absorb other living beings to level up, boosting your strength and recovery like crazy. But there's a catch. Absorb too much, and you risk your genes falling apart or mutating in ways you can't predict, probably turning you into an abomination yourself. The scroll needs an evolver to be level 10 with a physique over 15 to use it. Chenbai's impressed, thinking it's a risky but powerful class, though he's already got the black light virus going for him. Next, he finds a grade C genetic essence. This little vial promises to give a massive boost to physical stats, but can only be used once by each evolver. Not wanting to waste any time, Chenbai pops it open and drinks it down. The system tells him it's done its job, permanently boosting his strength by 2, physique by 6, and agility by 3. Chenbai thinks that it's not bad at all. Then he picks up the last item, quite a strange one. Holding it up, he's not sure if it's a piece of equipment or some kind of special item. The system clears things up, telling him it's a grade D special defense faceless skin. It's got multiple genes and is great for defense, offering bonuses like plus 10 to agility, physique, and defense. Plus, it has a bunch of quirky perks like helping with saggy skin and letting you shape your body however you want. The longer you wear it, the more it improves your body, with extra benefits for women. It even allows you to change the color or shape of any part of your body after you put it on. Chenbai pauses for a moment, mulling over the description of the dynamic skin. He wonders if it's more of a body modification tool or just a really cool piece of gear. Right as he's about to store the faceless skin in his inventory, something clicks in his memory. He had picked up some other items earlier too. Chenbai looks at the rest of the loot, noting that most of it is just basic inner armor gear. Not great, but it'll do. Then his eyes land on a skill book, and he perks up. The system tells him it's a D-rank active skill, Active Cells, which boosts cell activity for a short period, massively improving recovery. But it has a 10-hour cooldown, and since the protagonist already has the advanced cell regeneration skill, the book is pretty much useless to him. He figures he can trade it later in the chat room. Life-saving skills like that always fetch a good deal. He grabs the leftover blob of meat, the boss's body, and figures it's time to get out of there. The mission's practically done. All he has to do is hand this over to Lord Leto. Chenbai's thinking how impressed Leto will be with how fast he wrapped everything up. As he's about to tap the system screen to exit, something clicks in his mind, and he stops. Chenbai realizes something's off. Leto isn't some random traitor wandering around aimlessly in the game. He had a reason for coming here. He remembers what Leto said when he left, that Chenbai was just an unexpected bonus. That means Leto's real goal had to be something else, maybe even tied to this special dungeon. But if that's true, why send a divine avatar down for such a minor thing? Chenbai wonders if he's missing something. His gaze shifts to the incinerator beside him, and he crouches down, crawling through the door. If there's anything in this dungeon that he hasn't discovered yet, it's probably inside that incinerator. As the protagonist steps into the incinerator, it's nothing too fancy, just iron sheets, greasy walls, and fire outlets for burning bodies. He takes a quick scan and figures there's nothing special about it. But when he looks up and spots a huge hole above, he wonders if maybe what he's looking for is up there in the pipes. He immediately jumps up and starts making his way through the giant metal tube. A bit later, he's running through the pipe, and it's way longer than he expected. It stretches far beyond the room he came from. Just as he's settling into the rhythm of running, he suddenly stops in his tracks. Something is blocking the way. A dead end? He isn't buying it. Testing it with an elbow, he wonders whether this is really it, just a dead end. Before he can think too much, a creepy golden face pops up out of nowhere right in front of him. His reflexes kick in, and he punches the thing without thinking. But then the system notifies him that it's not a creepy thing, but an unknown mask, apparently tied to whatever weirdness is going on in the incinerator. The system says this mask has miraculous functions and effects, and now Chenbai's curiosity is piqued. He grabs the mask and stares at it. It's got no name, just a question mark. That's when he realizes it's probably a fragment of an SSS class item, or maybe something related to a god. As he checks it out, he thinks, yep, this is definitely what Lord Leto's after. Now he just has to figure out a way to keep it for himself. As evening sets in at the Zhangcheng University underground incinerator, Chenbai steps out, only to be greeted by an excited woman who's been waiting for him. She rushes up to him, gushing about how strong he is after watching his video, and even blurting out that she loves him. Chenbai barely acknowledges it, more interested in asking if she's got any copper coins on her. She babbles something about others fighting zombies and having a last-ditch attack, but he's already lost in thought. Chenbai doesn't even know how many gold coins he's sitting on right now. But with the price to watch his video set at 1 copper coin, there must be a ton of people watching. As if on cue, the system updates him. He's got 869 gold coins, 93 silver coins, and 15 copper coins. It doesn't stop there. The count keeps ticking upward until it hits 912 gold coins, 75 silver coins, and 32 copper coins. Even then, Chenbai sighs. It's still not enough. He needs 1,000 coins to unlock the storage, which is protected by the will of the universe, and the only way to safely stash his items without them being detected. Looks like he's got to wait before turning in his mission. A bit later, Chenbai and the woman are making their way back to the Zhangcheng University Medical Faculty main building. She asks if they're heading to the Dongshan Villa area, which he mentioned earlier, but Chenbai shoots down the idea. Nighttime brings too many unknown dangers, so they need to crash somewhere safe first. The woman suggests they could find a high-class hotel nearby since it's not a holiday, and there won't be many people. Out of nowhere, she switches into a nurse outfit, but Chenbai just shakes his head, unimpressed. The woman quickly apologizes, explaining she thought he picked the hotel for reasons and wanted to see her like that. But Chenbai's already over it. Chenbai admits he'd like to see something like that, but isn't into what she's wearing at the moment. The woman, eager to please, rushes off to change and comes back in a police outfit. Chenbai looks at her and immediately critiques that she doesn't have the spirit for it, telling her to try again. She switches into a teacher's outfit next, but he shakes his head, pointing out that it's pretty ironic since she's actually a student and not behaving very teacher-like at all. Time for another change. Next up, she slips into a school uniform. He raises an eyebrow, wondering if there isn't something a bit more interesting in her collection. After another quick switch, she appears in a quite cultured-looking cat costume, giving Chenbai a little twirl for approval. He pauses for a moment, considering it, and finally seems satisfied. He admits it's not bad and declares that she'll be his pet for the night, asking her to come closer. A bit later, the woman is fast asleep on the bed while Chenbai sits up, feeling it's time to get back to standing on business. He decides to enable the storage function, and the system promptly notifies him that his storage space has been opened, costing him 1,000 gold coins. It also tells him that the space is totally secure, protected by the will of the universe, and he can choose his successor. The system adds that no one can detect the storage using any ability or skill, making it completely private and secret. The unknown mask is now safely stored inside. Seeing the notifications, Chenbai figures it's time to move on to the next phase of his mission. He flicks the coin Lord Leto gave him, and mid-air, it starts creating a portal. The system notifies him that it's summoning our very own god of goblin and trade, Lord Arsene Lupin Leto. Chenbai is patiently waiting for Lord Leto to show up, standing outside a hotel, reflecting on an old saying from his past life. When dealing with Leto, emotions are part of the bargaining chip, meaning Leto tweaks the rewards to match the emotional investment of the person involved. Of course, this only applies if you're valuable enough in Leto's eyes, and Chenbai figures he's done enough to qualify. He grips the lump of meat in his pocket, ready for the exchange. Lord Leto finally arrives, saying that he was a bit surprised as he wasn't expecting Chen Bai to summon him so quickly. He asks if Chen Bai's completed the task to prove his skills. Chen Bai casually tosses the lump of meat over, confirming it's done, and that this is the proof, a piece of the creature from the dungeon, as requested. Leto stares at the lump for a moment, a bit thrown off by its appearance. The meat is all shriveled and dry, definitely not fresh. Leto, clearly curious, notes that it looks like the thing's been dead for a while. He questions why Chen Bai didn't call him right after finishing the job last night. Lord Leto throws Chen Bai a question about whether he really wanted that scroll so badly. Chen Bai, clearly irritated, explains that he's been struggling with the situation. He goes on to say how much he respects and admires Lord Leto, but asks why the dungeon's difficulty was kept secret from him. Playing the role of the frustrated adventurer that wasn't given enough info, Chen Bai acts upset, saying that only when he got inside did he realize it was a nightmare-level dungeon. Without his tricks up his sleeve, he'd have been a goner for sure. Lord Leto listens but doesn't apologize right away. Instead, he calmly explains that the challenge was intentional. It was part of the test. He couldn't just hand over a treasure to someone who couldn't handle a curveball or two. Lord Leto asks Chen Bai if he now understands the logic behind it. Chen Bai pauses for a moment, sighs, and admits that, yeah, he gets it. He then asks what the reward is and what the next task will be. Lord Leto acknowledges that he should have been more upfront, but is also impressed that Chen Bai survived. Since Chen Bai has proven himself, he lets him choose his reward, explaining that the next mission will be the final round. Lord Leto watches as Chen Bai expresses thanks for the opportunity and Leto's understanding. Leto tells Chen Bai to pick his reward, capping it at the highest quality B-rank items. Suddenly, a sea of B-rank item cards surrounds Chen Bai, catching him off guard. After a quick scan, he grabs the Scroll of Recovery. Lord Leto, amused by Chen Bai's choice, tells him that the Scroll of Recovery is a production blueprint. He praises Chen Bai for knowing what he wants and having clear goals, then assigns him the final task. Chen Bai is very surprised as he sees a task alert pop up in front of him. It's a message from the system, saying that Lord Leto has issued an SSS level task called Ultimate Investment, the final round. The catch? He has to snag 2 SSS level profession scrolls. The protagonist gets very curious. 2 of those bad boys? Those were definitely way too hard. He argues that even gods don't just pop out with SSS level professions. Leto says that he knows, after all, his first profession was a measly level 1. He goes on to explain that these scrolls are his best treasures, so they gotta go to the best candidates. If not, he's gonna have a hard time letting go. Realizing he's got no way out, the protagonist reluctantly agrees to take on the task. Meanwhile, in the Dongshan Villa area, a massive mutant giant rat is dragging a man's body as it stomps toward the houses. This isn't just any rat. It's a level 5 mutant, Master Splinter's distant zombie cousin, and it's tearing through the place like it has a vendetta against it. Alan is hiding behind some crumbled walls. She says that this rat is way bigger than the last one they saw. She reports to her team that 2 squads have already been wiped out by it. Song Ziqiang says that the rat's stats are 3 to 4 times stronger than theirs. Alan looks around nervously, asking what they're going to do about it. Song Ziqiang turns to the men, giving a firm order to keep their distance from the mutant rat for now. They need to keep an eye on it, but not engage. Suddenly, Alan's face goes pale. The giant rat has sniffed them out. It charges straight for the wall they're hiding behind. Aline instantly jumps into action, moving to shield Song Ziqiang, shouting at everyone to get out of the way. Alan's warning comes just a moment too late as the mutant giant rat crashes into the ground, sending the other men flying like ragdolls. She rushes to help Song Ziqiang up very urgently as she insists they need to get out of there. But Song Ziqiang says that it's already too late. The rat is too fast. As if to prove her point, the mutant giant rat suddenly pulls up above them, saying the grace for the delicious-looking meal. Just when all seems lost, a portal opens up in the sky, filled with bolts of electricity. Chen Bai emerges, effortlessly kicking the giant rat back down to the ground with a force that leaves everyone stunned. Song Ziqiang feels so much relief as she spots Chen Bai, calling out his name like the main man has arrived. Chen Bai surveys the chaotic scene, saying that it feels like he's come back in time. He quickly instructs Alan to gather the men to clean up the battlefield and ensure that those who died are properly compensated and rewarded. But they're dead. How's he gonna mail them their rewards? A ghostwriter Uber. He turns to Song Ziqiang, telling her to come back with him so they can discuss the situation in detail. Back at Song Ziqiang's villa, Chen Bai scans through a report. He sees that the zombies have been cleared out and that they were in the process of checking the area when those mutant rats appeared. He notes that the original location of the rat problem was east of the villas. Lu Li, looking flustered, apologizes and explains that the rats showed up unexpectedly, destroying 6 warehouses and causing over 100 casualties. Luli hands Chen Bai another document, detailing the specific list of damages and losses. As he examines it, Chen Bai says that Luli has been doing a solid job and clearly hasn't been resting. He tells her to take a break while he goes out to deal with the remaining mutant rats in the villa area and figure out where they're coming from. Song Zikyong expresses gratitude for Chen Bai's concern, but suggests that it wouldn't be wise for everyone to rest when he still needs assistance. She offers to recommend someone to help him, to which Chen Bai readily agrees. Song Zikyong calls for someone named Ling Hu to come in. The door creaks open, and a hot chick walks in. Song Zikyong introduces her as Chin Ling Yu, saying she was rescued during the villa cleanup and that they've known each other for a long time. She mentions Chin Ling Yu is a lawyer who can help with rules and is willing to join Chen Bai's group. Chen Bai lets her stay and tells the others to go rest. Now, only Chin Ling Yu and Chen Bai remain in the room. Blushing, she offers to help him with anything he needs. Chen Bai, remembering she's known for being sharp-tongued in her job, raises her chin and asks her to show him just how sharp she can be. Chin Ling Yu quickly agrees, very much ready to get down to blowing business. After the oral sausage service, Chin Ling Yu kneels before Chen Bai, calling him master and thanking him for the sausage reward. Chen Bai compliments her skill, feeling satisfied. Standing by the large window, he tells her to come over. She agrees but surprises him by bending over while making a request. He questions her about her posture and whether she heard what he just said. Chin Ling Yu apologizes, explaining that her B-level skill, focus, boosts her thinking speed and sensitivity, but blocks out outside noise. Chen Bai repeats that he called her over because she could see all 3 areas of Dongshan, including the villas, high-end spots on the hillside, and lower mountain neighborhoods. He wants her to make rules for each area. She confirms she can handle it and asks if he has other requests. Chen Bai says he's curious about her abilities and suggests testing how far her senses can go when she focuses on her feelings. Blushing, Chin Ling Yu agrees and uses her skill, bending over once more to signal she's ready. The place was echoing with so much happy noises, but by the next morning, Chen Bai stands at the Dongshan sewerage outlet with Song Zikyong, Aline, and a bunch of other dudes. He explains how he discovered the spot through architectural drawings and traces left by mutant rats, eventually leading to their lair. Even though he could take care of the rats alone, he wants to train reliable men who can protect everyone and earn his trust. That's why he brought them along, to level up. Everyone, including Song Zikyong and Aline, kneels and calls him master, ready for the challenge. Chen Bai finds it weird having a bunch of men call him that, so he tells them to refer to him as Brother Bai from now on. Seeing their excitement as they agree, he feels satisfied. Chen Bai moves ahead, standing in front of the fence blocking the sewer outlet. He easily rips it off and signals them to begin. Suddenly, the system notifies him of a special mission, sewer hosts. He asks if the others received it too, and Song Zikyong confirms they did. Alan explains the mission involves killing all mutant rats, including the Rat King, and investigating the source of their mutations. The rewards depend on how well they complete the task, and one of the men says they also got the mission. Entering the sewer, Song Zikyong talks about how dark it is, glad she had torches prepared. Chen Bai says that it's cleaner than expected, considering the circumstances. Chen Bai hears some rustling ahead and quickly signals everyone to stay sharp. He warns them that the mutant rats are on their way, and boy, do they come in fast. Chen Bai pulls out his big hammer and bone claws, yelling about how there's way too many of these nasty little things. The crew doesn't hesitate. They rush in, smacking down rats left and right. But Chen Bai makes sure to tell them not to get sloppy. Some might still be twitching. Alan's finishing off a few while some dude is super pumped about finding rat skin gear, like it's a prize or something. Meanwhile, Song Zikyong gives Chen Bai an update, saying they've nearly cleared out that section of the sewer pipes, like 16 different parts or something, and Chen Bai's cool with this news. Suddenly, the guy behind Song Zikyong starts freaking out again, pointing ahead. But there's only one rat this time. Song Zikyong, feeling brave, volunteers to handle it herself. Chen Bai tells her to use her scouting skills first, and she gets right to it. She uses her insight crystal skill and gets all wide-eyed, announcing that the rat's a level 7 boss with stats that are way too high for comfort. But before she can finish talking about its physique, Chen Bai's already charging at the thing, bone claws out, not even waiting for the details. Song Zikyong freaks out, telling him to be careful, but then just stands there in shock as Chen Bai absolutely wrecks the boss rat in one hit like it was some annoying weak NPC. Our rizzed-up harem-owning protagonist is way too OP. Chen Bai hears the system ring and sees that the Rat King dropped some gear, plague boots, a grade E set of defense. It's nothing crazy, but it boosts agility by 5, has poison protection, and is part of a full plague set that gives all attributes a nice little bump if he gets them all. Chen Bai equips the boots, thinking that even though they're low tier, The full set could be pretty strong if he collects the whole thing. After equipping the boots, Chen Bai notes that with the Rat King down, the only thing left is figuring out what's causing these mutants. A little while later, Song Ziqiang complains about going through 5 pipes and not seeing any more rats. Chen Bai suddenly tells everyone to stop. The system throws notifications at him. He's getting virus points for absorbing all sorts of nasty plagues. He racks up points for things like Spore Plague, Bone Spur Plague, and even the Black Death Plague, like it's some kind of twisted collection game. Chen Bai realizes that these viruses aren't your everyday sewer germs. These things didn't even exist before the trials. And they're strong enough to mess up evolvers too. He figures the mutation source has to be close. He tells Song Ziqiang that she's not going any further, it's too dangerous, and she agrees to head back. As Chen Bai keeps moving, more system notifications pop up, and his virus points start skyrocketing with every step. He wonders how crazy the growth will get once he hits the mutation source. Chen Bai rounds the corner in the pipes, announcing that he's right on top of the source. As he gets closer, he spots a mysterious corpse, with its face all twisted upside down, looking like a bootleg Orochimaru cosplayer gone wrong, holding a scroll that's oozing poison. The whole area around it is drenched in toxins, and Chen Bai, instead of being grossed out, smiles like he's hit the jackpot. He stands there, staring at the corpse that's tied in place, wondering if this messed up body is what's been pumping out the mutation and plague viruses. He's genuinely surprised by how chaotic it looks, and worse is that he thinks this place might just be heaven for him. The protagonist checks out the corpse. According to him, he was basing it on the concentration of the plague virus, and then it hits him. The source is that scroll the corpse is holding. He reads the title and figures out it's from some cult called the Plague Cult, which he's never heard of in his previous life. He shrugs it off and gets hyped, thinking that after absorbing all those nasty viruses, he'll level up big time. Without a second thought, he uses his virus absorption on the scroll, but right when he does, his hand mutates like a scene out of a horror movie. He's caught off guard, swearing under his breath, as his hand morphs with 2 types of energies swirling around him like a bad special effect. After a second, his hand snaps back to normal, and the corpse collapses. The system LRTs him know that the special mission sewer host is complete, with 2,000 experience points added. A random reward pops up, and he gets a weird item called Wall of Flesh. As if that wasn't enough, a freaky symbol shows up on his palm, and the system notifies him it's the Seal of Plague, proof that he's now a core member of the Plague Cult. This seal is crafted from loads of deadly plagues, and it's like a radar, reacting if another seal is nearby. Chen Bai's left speechless. But then the system throws another revelation at him. He's not infected by the plague, but got the seal instead. And that means he's now triggered a new mission, difficulty level SSS. The description shows up, revealing that the plague cult sacrificed old gods and brought in all sorts of treasures to this world for their prophesied true god. Since Chen Bai now holds the seal of plague, he's got a shot at becoming that true god. But first, he's got to find the cult members, especially a plague bringer, and take on their tests. Chen Bai can't believe he's got a crazy SSS mission on his plate now. Chen Bai checks out the mission description and realizes it's tied to godly power. He thinks about becoming the god of plague, thinking that would give him enough strength to take on anything. He swears he'll track down the plague bringer no matter what. Suddenly, a portal pops up in front of him, and Chen Bai notes that a dungeon is being created. The system tells him that a hell difficulty dungeon called Plague Sewer is being generated, with a countdown of 29 days. Seeing the hell difficulty tag, Chen Bai compares it to the nightmare level Cold Incinerator, and figures this one's going to be even more intense. Because of it taking a full month to generate, he decides he'll check back later when it's ready. Meanwhile, Song Ziqiang is caught off guard by another portal appearing in front of her. She announces that a dungeon of the Dongshan sewer area has been generated, but this one's normal difficulty, with recommended levels of 1 to 10 and limited to 3 entries per day. Chen Bai appears next to her, saying that it's perfect for her to level up. After regrouping, Song Ziqiang says that she's already sent word for people to come and grind in that dungeon, since the limit means no time should be wasted. And Chen Bai praises her for organizing things so quickly. 20 minutes later, everyone's assembled at the entrance to the sewer dungeon. Chen Bai takes charge, reminding them that the space inside isn't big, so groups of 4 to 8 should be okay. He also says that survival is priority number 1, with profit coming second. Everyone agrees, ready to dive in and level up. Chen Bai tells the 3 ladies, Song Ziqiang, Su Xin, and Alin, that they'll enter the dungeon with him, but he's not lifting a finger unless it's absolutely necessary. They all agree to handle things themselves. Chen Bai suggests they team up and join his chat group. The system notifies Song Ziqiang that Evolver number 1 has invited her to join White Emperor Palace. She's surprised to see number 1 is Chen Bai, but he explains that the numbering just refers to the order in which people become evolved, so no big deal. Out of nowhere, Song-gae pops up looking really pissed. She demands to know why she wasn't invited to the chat group. Chen-bai, not even fazed, bluntly tells her it's because he didn't invite her. Classic nonchalant diseased head. He leans over her, making it clear this chat group is for his harem, only for those loyal and strong enough. Hot enough, too. He teases her for being terrified of a zombie before, clearly implying she doesn't cut it. Song-gae, flustered and remembering her fear, tries to save face by saying she's not a little girl anymore, and she's ready to prove herself. Chen-bai tosses some gear her way, telling her to gear up and head into the dungeon so he can see if she's actually grown up. A bit later, Song-gae sneaks into the dungeon, creeping behind a couple of mutant rats. She confidently stops Alan and Song Zikyong from helping, saying that she's standing on business alone this time. Meanwhile, Chen-bai casually talks with Lu Li, mentioning he still doesn't know what her and Song-gae's talents are. Lu Li shares that she has a B-level illusion skill, which lets her create phantoms from her imagination, though it's more of a support ability in combat. She tells him about Song-gae, revealing that her talent is C-ranked and boosts her growth rate for experience and proficiency by 50%. Chen-bai says that while growth acceleration is useful, it's not as combat-ready as Lu Li's phantoms. Lu Li agrees as they both watch Song-gae charge at the rats, ready to prove herself. Song-gae takes out those mutant rats pretty quickly and, feeling confident, asks Chen-bai how she did, proudly stating she killed 3 all by herself and that those rats were way tougher than zombies. Chen-bai casually says it's not bad, and since she's trying so hard to join his harem, he'll make an exception for her. Song-gae, blushing, tries to play it off, saying she doesn't want to join his harem, she just wants to prove herself. Chen-bai doesn't miss a beat and immediately agrees, saying he respects her choice, so he won't bother sending her an invite. This catches Song-gae off guard and she starts to panic. She asks him to hold up, and when Chen-bai calmly asks what's up, she gets all bashful, saying it's nothing, but she just wants to join in, and asks if she can still get an invite. The tsundere vibes be looking really forced here, but let's enjoy the harem show. Chen-bai, being his usual teasing self, says she seems hesitant, so maybe he won't bother after all. Song-gae, now lost for words, just stands there staring. Song Zikyong jumps in to save her, asking Chen-bai to quit messing with Song-gae. She explains that Song-gae's whole attitude earlier was because she was mad about introducing Chen-bai to Qinling Yu instead of her. Someone's jelly. Chen-bai, showing some mercy, jokes that for her mom's sake, Song-gae should just accept the invite. The system notifies Chen-bai that Evolver number 10,261,521, Song-gae, has officially joined the White Emperor Palace. Song-gae, suddenly looking super happy, announces she's off to kill more monsters, walking away like she just won the lottery. Chen-bai smiles with aura, calling her a thunderous little princess. Song Zikyong, laughing, says that Song-gae talks big, but doesn't really mean half of it. She tells Chen-bai not to worry, just to wait until they finish the dungeon and head back to the villa. Song Zikyong then slyly mentions that she made a promise to make Song-gae call Chen-bai daddy. Chen-bai is a little surprised, noting that she's pretty decisive. Song Zikyong replies that she has to be, times have changed, and for a spoiled girl like Song-gae, having someone like Chen-bai to call daddy would mean the world to her. In a luxury suite somewhere, a hot lady is soaking in a bathtub, thoroughly enjoying herself. She stretches out, thinking about how comfy life has become, especially with the world ending around her. She thanks her group leader for all the advice that made it possible for her to live like this. Just as she's fully relaxed, a system alert pops up, grabbing her attention. It announces that Chen-bai's team has cleared a normal level dungeon in the Dongshan sewer, and there's a video of it that's available for 10 copper coins. She gets very surprised when she sees Chen-bai in the video thumbnail. Recognizing him as their group leader, she's instantly hyped, talking about how he's cleared another dungeon. She's never seen a dungeon before and can't wait to watch, but when she sees the 10 copper coin price tag, she complains that she might go broke, but at least she's going for broke. Still, curiosity wins, and she buys the video. As she starts watching, she notices the faces of the people in it are hidden, which only makes her more curious. Then she starts to wonder why there are so many women in the video. Well, our protagonist is a diseased harem boss, that's why. Meanwhile, in another place, a guy is also watching the video, but he's way less interested in the girls. He skips through most of their fighting, wanting to see Chen-bai in action. He says that the girls are talented, but not all that great in combat. Another guy watching about how tough the monsters in the deeper parts of the dungeon are, and doubts the girls can handle them, even with Chen-bai's guidance. When the boss finally appears, this guy talks about how powerful it looks, clearly impressed. In a different place, a group of foreign men gather around to watch the same video. One of them wonders aloud how strong Chen-bai really is. Another guy says they've had bad luck with not finding any dungeons yet, but he doubts Chen Bai is stronger than their S-rank fighter Tom. However, Tom himself disagrees, pointing out that Chen Bai took down the boss in one hit, which speaks a lot about his OP strength. Back in the suite, the lady is lying on her bed, totally captivated by what she's watching. She's blown away, seeing Chen Bai casually destroy a level 10 boss and realizing just how powerful he really is. She's especially impressed by how effective the fighting techniques he taught the girls seem to be. Feeling a little envious, she starts daydreaming, wishing she were in Chen Bai's city, training under his guidance, just like the girls in the video. Everyone wants to be a part of the harem so bad. Meanwhile, in Song Ziqiang's study room, Chen Bai starts talking about the dungeon showdown and how everyone should have a bunch of low-level gear by now. He tells Song Ziqiang, Qin Lingyu, and Lu Li to team up and sort out the whole trading system and economy for their group. He wants it done fast, so things don't get messy. Song Ziqiang agrees, asking if there's anything else they need to do. Chen Bai pulls out some items and says he's got something for her. Song Ziqiang gets very curious when she sees what he's holding. First, there's the walls of flesh and blood. It's some creepy wall material that gets stronger by eating meat and blood. If they use it right, it'll become an almost indestructible barrier, which gets her all excited. Though to me, it just looks like the Crimson Beherit from Berserk. She then picks up a teleport scroll. This one can take someone back to a marked city in 10 seconds, and she's all about that. With this thing, they could pretty much run Zhangcheng without breaking a sweat. The yellow flash of the hidden leaf approves, but when she grabs the faceless skin, she's less thrilled. Yeah, it can change someone's appearance and make them look like anyone they want, but compared to the other crazy stuff, it feels a bit underwhelming. Chen Bai notices her face and asks if she's not impressed. Song Ziqiang quickly says that everything he gives is important, mostly because he's the boss, and his happiness is what counts. Chen Bai says that he doesn't really get women's fashion but wonders if she can surprise him with all this stuff. Song Ziqiang promises that the surprise isn't just from her. She's got a plan to make Song Ge finally call him daddy for real, and she even hints at dressing her up too. A few moments later, the entire villa is dark, except for one room where the lights are on for very cultured reasons. Chen Bai strolls in, casually carrying Qin Lingyu, who's rocking a revealing leopard costume, like some kind of weird cosplay gone right. Very right. He heads for the massive bed where Su Xin, Song Ziqiang, Aline, and Lu Li are all knocked out, looking like they had a serious nap party. Chen Bai places the kitty in the bed with the rest of them, probably eating all of their kitties. He steps back, giving them all a look like he's inspecting his collection. Afterwards, he puts on his plague robe, giving off serious Billy Butcher vibes, probably ready to smash some heads and take names. The system lets him know that he's now got 2 out of 5 pieces of the plague set. This adds 5 to all his stats and gives him resistance to weakness debuffs. Chen Bai thinks about how slow it is to collect these plague pieces, 1 drop in 3 dungeon runs. He figures at this rate, he'll finish the set in about 3 days. Easy work. Suddenly, the system buzzes, and it's a private message from someone named Dreamy. Chen Bai stares at the name, wondering who the heck it might be. He reads the polite greeting, where Dreamy talks about watching his dungeon strategy video and politely asks for some guidance. Apparently, Dreamy's not great in combat, so she's looking for some advice. Curious now, Chen Bai responds, telling her he needs to know her talent if she really wants his help. He says if she trusts him, she should send the details. A little hesitant, Dreamy agrees and sends him her info. Chen Bai can't believe what his eyes are seeing when he sees her talent, something called Dream Butterfly, and her 31 dream points. He's instantly impressed, realizing this is an SSS level infinite growth talent, and starts piecing it together. In his previous life, she must have died before anyone knew about her power. Dreamy explains that her Dream Butterfly allows her to enter the dream world, which is just like the real world. She can also enter other people's dreams or even bring stuff from her dreams into reality. She's been working on dream weaving but hasn't fully mastered it yet. To get others into her dream world, she needs to make a dream totem first. Chen Bai is surprised, thinking how broken this power is. As long as no one finds her real body, she's basically untouchable. Dreamy, excited, and typing away like crazy, suggests sending him a dream totem, basically a picture that would let him guide her into the dream world. Chen Bai immediately tells Dreamy he can't agree to the dream totem thing because he'd have 0 protection in her dream world. I mean, it's like sending yourself into a game being completely controlled by someone else. But Dreamy insists, practically begging him to reconsider. She says they can sign an evolver contract, which would legally bind her to do nothing harmful to him. Chen Bai's eyebrow shoots up when he reads the details. The evolver contract is recognized by the will of the universe and costs an unbelievable 10 gold coins, at the very least. Now he's really confused. If she has 10 gold coins lying around, why does she even need his combat tips? Dreamy explains that the monsters she kills in the dream world die in real life, and she can adjust how often these monsters drop loot by tweaking things through her dream weaving ability. She's managed to save just enough gold, but she also mentions she could sweeten the deal by throwing in some extra goodies like the DL skill book, spiritual perception, and a city building order from the great F. Chen Bai is impressed. This power of hers is no joke for real, and honestly, it might even rival his Virus King abilities. Dreamy's getting more desperate, explaining that even though she's practically a god in her dreams, in reality, she's fragile. She's convinced that if she doesn't improve her real-life combat skills, she's toast. Chen Bai agrees with what she's saying. Her talent is insane, but without any physical strength or combat prowess, she's got a massive weak spot. He tells her to go ahead and send the Evolver contract. If she's willing to sign it, he'll help her out. After all, with a talent like hers, she'd be a valuable asset. The system quickly notifies Chen Bai that Dreamy has sent over the contract. It states that she won't take any harmful actions toward him, and that if she breaks it, she'll lose her Evolver status. It's a solid deal, and it's valid for 24 hours, Chen Bai agrees. A few moments later, Chen Bai is lying down on a bed in the second bedroom of Song Ziqiang's villa, thinking about the dream totem. Apparently to enter, he needs to relax and focus for 3 minutes. It'd take longer if he wasn't so chill. Just as he's about to drift off, Dreamy, or rather Meng Meng, which she explains means dream, sends him the image of the dream totem. Chen Bai thinks about how wild it'd be if this ability of hers evolves enough for people to see and dream for real. That would be next level chaos. Closing his eyes, Chen Bai suddenly finds himself transported to a room. Meng Meng stands there waiting for him. She addresses him as Group Leader Brother Bai, and reminds him that she just signed the contract with him. Chen Bai introduces himself, telling Meng Meng she can just call him by his name. He takes a look around and asks if this is her dream world. Well, the place doesn't exactly scream combat training ground. Meng Meng opens up a portal, explaining that she cleaned up a gym nearby, and Chen Bai is very surprised when he realizes the whole city is replicated in her dream world. As he looks into the portal, he notices that this dream world is huge. But Meng Meng quickly clarifies that the world doesn't actually belong to her. She's just a traveler here, able to modify things, but not fully in control. It mirrors the real world, but it's independent. Chen Bai understands and suggests they head straight to the gym for training. Meng Meng leads him through the portal. They end up inside a basketball court, but it's pitch black. Meng Meng snaps her fingers and declares, "Let there be light," like she's about to create a whole universe after. The whole gym immediately lights up like magic, and her master says that she looks like a middle schooler, to which she giggles, mentioning she used to be a novelist before the apocalypse hit. Chen Bai brushes that off, getting down to business. He reminds Meng Meng that she wants to strengthen herself in the real world, so the best way to do that is through fighting. He tells her not to rely on her dream powers and to show him what she's got without any tricks. Meng Meng hesitates for a second but explains that in the dream world, her stats are tied to her mental strength, which is sitting at a solid 48. She warns Chen Bai to be careful, but he reassures her, telling her to come at him with everything she's got. Meng Meng rushes forward, trying to throw a punch. Chen Bai dodges it effortlessly, and she stumbles forward, losing her balance. He points out that her stance is off. She's leaning too much into the punch, making it hard to retreat. He tells her to reset and try again. Meng Meng takes a deep breath, closes her eyes, and swings again. But once again, Chen Bai easily dodges, and she loses balance. Chen Bai shakes his head, telling her she's focusing too much on the attack and not enough on control. He moves right in front of her, telling her she needs to watch her opponent more closely and stop being so obsessed with her own moves. Meng Meng blushes in embarrassment but gets to it. Chen Bai gives her props for giving it her all but adds that if she wants to improve, she's got to nail those basics: control, balance, and watching the enemy. He admits he was moving at a speed of 20 earlier, which completely threw her off, making her apologize for her lack of skill. Chen Bai tells Meng Meng there's no need to apologize and encourages her to keep pushing in her training. She promises to get better, determined to improve. Fast forward 7 days later, it's evening in the Dongshan Villa area, and there's one room still lit up in Song Ziqiang's place. She's inside with Chen Bai, updating him on how all the new laws have been posted around the area. She adds that people are stationed at the billboards, making sure folks understand the rules. Chen Bai notes that things in the Dongshan area are looking good. Then he casually drops that he's been cleaning up the place for the past few days, so she'll have to manage it now as he's planning to leave early the next morning. Song Ziqiang looks a bit worried, reminding him that she thought he'd stick around longer, especially since his plague set is still missing a piece. But Chen Bai says that he's not about to wait around for an E-grade set. There are too many treasures and opportunities out there, and he's got to get his hands on them while he can. Out of nowhere, Song Zikyong hugs him from behind, giving him that little encouragement to think about them too and make sure he comes back. She jokes about the emperor's palace flooding, saying no one else would be able to control it. Amused, Chenbai asks if there's really a flood on his land. He playfully suggests she round up everyone for a meeting so they can figure out how to close the water outlet, and she agrees, saying she'll do whatever her lord commands. Later that night, it's all literally butterflies and roses as the ladies on Chenbai's team are basking in pure pleasure. He's using his tentacle-like aura on them, and the whole scene's like a cultured, plot-filled dream. Chenbai leans back, watching them enjoy themselves, feeling quite pleased with his handiwork. By morning, he quietly steps out of the room, looking back at the ladies, all knocked out and sleeping soundly. He closes the door gently and notices Aylin walking toward him. Chenbai asks her if she's looking for Song Zikyong, but Aline shakes her head, saying she's actually looking for him. When Chenbai asks what's up, Alan reports that someone is stirring up trouble at the settlement down by the mountain. Chenbai asks why she's bothering him with this. Didn't they just post all the rules? He tells her to handle it based on those rules. Alan apologizes for interrupting and tells Chenbai that the troublemaker claims to be one of his classmates. This one actually piques Chenbai's interest, so he tells Aline to take him there. She quickly agrees, leading him to the foot of the mountain where a small crowd is gathered. As soon as they spot Chenbai, one of them yells, probably recognizing him. Alan explains that these people are upset about the daily fee of 1 copper coin. They want free protection and stability without paying anything. Chenbai takes a moment to process this. As he keeps walking through the group, Li Chen, the troublemaker, steps forward and introduces himself. Chenbai just gives him a look, acknowledging he knows him, but he cuts to the point, arguing that the 1 copper coin fee is totally reasonable. You could get it just by killing a single zombie or working one of the jobs available in the settlement. He questions why they're making a fuss over something so simple. Li Chen, acting all noble, claims it's not about the money. He starts rambling about how in the apocalypse, people should look out for each other. Since Chenbai has resources, he should just help everyone out for free, out of the kindness of his heart or whatever. He advises Chenbai to cancel the rules, saying it would benefit everyone, and they'd totally appreciate him for it. Chenbai is clearly not in the mood to entertain Li Chen's speech. Without hesitation, he calls for everyone's attention and lays it down straight. The rules are staying as they are. If they don't like it, they're free to leave right now. But if anyone is still standing there after 3 minutes, they're going to get shot. No exceptions. Chenbai looks at Aline and calmly tells her to start counting down. Aline, ever obedient, agrees and starts the countdown. Meanwhile, Li Chen, acting all bold, says there's no need for the full 3 or 5 minutes. He refuses to leave, bragging that he's trying to save money for everyone so they'd support and thank him. But one of the guards is already fed up with the nonsense. He snaps back, saying that 1 copper coin isn't a big deal. He calls out Li Chen for being either too cheap or too lazy to earn it, and declares that people like that don't deserve protection. Another guard jumps in, mocking Li Chen by calling him trash and saying if he can't even scrape up a copper coin, he might as well become a guard dog for 2. A third guard, clearly enjoying the banter, tells Li Chen to get lost since he doesn't belong with the camp they worked hard to build. Li Chen's face turns red with anger. He shouts that he'll leave if he has to, but threatens that Chenbai will regret kicking him out. That's when Chenbai, with a chilling calm, orders him to wait. Li Chen, thinking Chenbai is having second thoughts, smugly asks if he already regrets his decision. But before he can say anything more, Chenbai uses his bone claws skill. Swiftly, he swings his claws at Li Chen, who doesn't even have time to react, cutting him in half like a chocolate bar. Blood sprays everywhere, and Li Chen drops to the ground, lifeless, leaving the crowd in shock and fear. Chenbai casually says that Li Chen was actually right. When someone holds a grudge against him, they really do end up regretting it. Alan announces that there's just 1 minute left. She asks if anyone else plans to leave, and one guy quickly drops to his knees, begging for forgiveness and promising to follow the rules from now on. He pleads for a second chance. Chenbai, impressed by the guy's survival instinct, tells him he's smart. He then says for 5 copper coins, things will go back to normal after a month. The man eagerly agrees, thanking Chenbai over and over again. Soon the others follow, asking for the same chance. Chenbai hands everything over to Alan, who assures him she'll take care of the situation. As he walks away, he gets startled by a message from Meng Ming. She tells him that she's struggling to improve her abilities in the real world, even though her spiritual energy is increasing. She complains that she doesn't have any offensive skills. Chenbai advises her to be patient and promises to help her find some books on spiritual energy attacks. When Meng Meng asks where he's based, Chenbai casually tells her. She's suddenly all excited, saying that they're actually super close. She's living in Wuchang. Chen Bai, thinking he might as well offer, suggests to Meng Meng that if she wants, he can swing by and meet her. Meng Meng, not believing her luck, asks if he's serious and starts freaking out, saying how amazing it would be. Chen Bai explains to her that back in his previous life, he received an S-grade professional mission related to Wuchang. Sure, it wasn't some over-the-top SSS grade mission, but it was still valuable enough to trade for materials or some juicy info. He decides it's a good enough reason to hit up Wuchang first, so he plans to head there. Meanwhile, over in Zhongcheng City, things aren't looking too hot for a group stuck in a hotel. A guy is standing by the window, clearly stressed out, asking how much food they've got left. The answer from his buddy behind him isn't great, barely enough for 10 people to survive the next 3 days. The guy by the window, Jiang Luoping, is clearly irritated, complaining that it's all because of some cursed special zombie that looks like a colossal titan. Apparently, it had taken out 5 of their men like it was nothing. And to make things worse, this giant zombie's senses are so sharp that they couldn't even make it to the 10th floor without it knowing they were there. So, running out the back door? Yeah, not happening. Sun Zhihe, the guy behind him, mentions that it feels like they're trapped. Before they can continue their pity party, one of the women in the room, Wei Shui, suddenly urges them to look outside. She's pointing at something speeding along the rooftops. Jiang Luoping squints at the sight and wonders out loud what in the world that thing is. All he can see is some blur, like an illusion, and he starts freaking out, asking if it's a new type of zombie. He sees it jumping between walls and immediately assumes it must be dangerous. He's ready to close the curtains when Wei Shui stops him, insisting there's no need because it's not a zombie. She swears it's a human. Sun Zhihe, hearing that, can't believe his ears. He questions how that could even be possible. Jiang Luoping is skeptical too and asks if she's sure she didn't get it wrong. Wei Shui, standing with another woman, Zhuang Yixue, confidently assures them she's absolutely not mistaken. She reminds them of her special ability and says that whatever's out there, it's definitely human, and it's coming straight toward them. Chen Bai lands on a building close to where the special zombie is lurking, and almost immediately, the creature senses him and goes into full alert mode. Seeing that the special zombie is actually a tyrant, our hero feels real pumped. He hadn't expected to run into a tyrant, but it's a welcome surprise since he just so happens to have a weapon plan that needs a tyrant's bone. As the tyrant roars at him, ready to fight, Chen Bai quickly realizes he can't use his heavy hammer. Doing that might mess up the bone drop rate. Not ideal. Instead, he decides bone claws are the way to go and charges at the tyrant, muttering to himself that decapitation sounds like the better option here. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Sun Zhihe can't see a thing and asks Wei Shui for an update on what's going down. Zhuang Yixu, though, warns them both that it's probably best not to look since it seems super dangerous. Wei, still glued to the action, tells them that the battle's kicked off. She notices that the guy's hand has turned into claws, and that catches Jiang Luoping's attention. He jumps in, saying that he told them it was a monster, but she stays focused, insisting that they wait because she's about to see the guy's face. In the thick of the fight, the protagonist handles the tyrant with ease, making quick work of it with his bone claws. The massive zombie hits the ground, defeated. The system in his head kicks in, notifying him that he's just taken out a mutated elite zombie enhanced for offense and defense. Chen Bai is rewarded with 2,000 experience points and also devours the tyrant, which powers up all his blacklight virus abilities. On top of that, he earns 800 virus points and 500 special evolution points. The system tells Chen Bai that he's unlocked a new ability, muscle enhancement and shield. Naturally, he's got to test this out right away. He's impressed. Muscle enhancement can bulk up any part of his body without messing with his shape. And the shield? Its defensive power is almost double his base strength. Definitely a solid reward. Back at the hotel, Wei suddenly recognizes the zombie massacring hero. She rushes to open the curtains, calling out his name. Chen Bai, still riding the high from his victory, hears someone shouting and looks up, confused. He spots the open curtain in the building and wonders who's yelling at him. It catches him off guard, but he's curious to find out who knows him in a place like this. And I guess that means one more girl added to the diseased Rizmaster's harem. Despite having all the STDs in the world, it ain't stopping him from bagging the baddies. Jiang Luoping quickly grabs Wei Shui and clamps her mouth shut, not wanting her to shout and cause trouble. He's not convinced that our monster killer isn't some kind of monster himself, and the last thing they need is to deal with more problems. They can have 99 problems, but a colossal titan zombie monster should not be one. But Chen Bai is already outside, jumping up to the window, curious after hearing someone call his name. The girl manages to break free from her paranoid friend's grip, excitedly calling out to the protagonist, opening the curtains wide for him. Chen Bai climbs through the window and immediately recognizes her as someone connected to Song Ge. He casually pieces together who she is. Wei, clearly happy to see him, eagerly asks about her friend, wondering if she's okay. Later on, they're all sitting around a table in a hotel in Jiangcheng. Chen Bai explains to the people gathered there that he's been busy establishing a settlement in the Dongshan village area. He talks about how it's now home to hundreds of people, with Song Ziqiang helping him manage things, ensuring that Song Ge is perfectly safe. Wei listens, visibly impressed by everything he's accomplished. Jiang, on the other hand, is staring at him. He is indeed amazed but also in doubt. His two buddies sitting next to him, equally skeptical, start questioning him. They can't believe Chen Bai could have set up a settlement with hundreds of people, and they find it even harder to accept that Song Ziqiang, the queen of Jiangcheng, is involved. Chen remains unfazed, sitting there casually, his legs crossed, as he reassures them that they'll see for themselves soon enough. He knows it's easy to verify, so he's not bothered by their disbelief. Just then, the door bursts open, and a boy in a blue shirt walks in, calling out for our hero. Chen turns to see it's Qi Zheng, followed by two other familiar faces, Li Feng and Zhao Mu, his classmates from the hospital. Jiang, who had been skeptical earlier, now smiles like he knew something was up all along. Zhao, wearing a red shirt, looks thrilled to see their old friend, calling out to him with relief. Chen stands up, greeting his classmates with a smile, asking what they're doing there. They approach, and Jiang throws an arm over Chen's shoulder, explaining how, when everything first went down, he had led a group of students to help Wei Xiaolu, who was working part-time at a script-killing shop. Zhao says that they were hoping to catch Chen to see if he had any time to hang out. But Li Feng cuts in, saying Chen's probably busy doing something important. Chen just asks if there are many of their classmates from Zhong University hanging around. He casually invites them to come check out his settlement in Dongshan village, but adds that there's a little rule they gotta follow, handing over a copper coin each day. He asks if they think they can manage that. Zhang tells the protagonist if that colossal monster hadn't trapped them in this hotel, they might have stumbled upon a stash of gold coins. But he knows the way to the settlement is a total gamble, so he asks if Chen can come along to help them out. Chen tells them that he's got some things to take care of, but he assures them that he only spotted one tyrant on his way to Dongshan, so they should be good. Zhang asks if that means it's not your run-of-the-mill monster. Chen opens his inventory panel and plops some translucent blue items on the table. He hands them out, saying they're low-level items he doesn't need. He looks at them and tells them it's all theirs. He's in a hurry and needs to hit the road, but now that they know where to find the settlement, he's got to jet. Chen gives Jiang a friendly pat on the back, who's all grateful, and he waves goodbye as he leaves the room. His friends shout out to him, telling him to take care as he leaves. Once outside, Chen jumps from rooftop to rooftop like it's no big deal. Suddenly, a notification pops up, and it's Dream Girl sliding into his private chat. Her message reads that King Han Wang is complaining in the group chat, and she thinks her new skill might help him out. Chen replies, telling her there are too many people in that group, so she should just tell him what's up. Meanwhile, back in the hotel, the students are buzzing with excitement. Zhao leans in close to Jiang, whispering about how they should definitely head to the settlement. Jiang agrees, saying a settlement filled with evolved folks and safety sounds like a jackpot. But then he gets serious, reminding Zhao that they need to prepare properly for the journey since getting to Dongshan from Jiangcheng is almost like an inner-city expedition. Zhao then said they wanted to check if the hero was free, but Li Feng thought he was busy. Feng adjusted his glasses and was about to say something, but Wei cut him off. She spotted Chen coming back and asked why he was here again. Everyone turned their heads, and Li Feng looked annoyed. Wei walked up to the boss, wanting to know what was wrong. Chen admitted he needed a room for something. Zhao jumped in, offering his and Qi Zhang's room for Chen to crash in. They joked and walked toward the room, but Zhang said they could watch him from the living room. Wei turned to the protagonist, wanting to know Song Ge's evolved identifier number to add her as a friend. Chen quickly told her it was 990225. Zhang asked him for his number so he could add him too. Chen casually replied it was 001. Zhang was shocked and burst out laughing, saying they were all evolved now, but Chen's humor was still as dry as ever. Xiao tells Cheng he would find out when he added Chen. Zheng, confused, sent the friend request. When he saw the response that evolved number 001 accepted his request, he freaked out and screamed. Chen just smiled, used to these kinds of reactions, and told Qi Zheng to hurry up and catch up. 10 minutes later, the group is just chilling in the living room, chatting and enjoying each other's company. Zhao and Zheng are laying on the couch, legs thrown over the edge like they own the place, while Wei sits in an armchair, messing around with her communication window. Zheng says that Chen Bai's identification number is the real deal, claiming it's the secret code to becoming an evolved one. Jae reminds him about the post Chen Bai shared in the dorm group. He remembers that it mentioned the school moving the date of the physical test to mid-June. His friend says he remembers all too well how they ended up sweating it out for more than a week because of that. Suddenly the dude sits up straight and asks if Chen Bai already knew the end of times was coming back then. Zhao says it might just be a coincidence, but hey, at least they got some solid exercise out of it, and it prepared them for the apocalypse. Zheng then looks over and spots Wei all hunched up by the communication screen, blushing and looking as red as tomato. He teases her, asking why her face is so red. She immediately says it's nothing and tells them that she's heading back to her room. She reminds them not to forget Chen Bai's warning about not stepping a foot in his room. As she steps out into the hallway, Chen's name keeps buzzing around in her head. She remembers her chats with Song Gae, where she messaged her and she asked her how she knew her code. Wei spills that Chen Bai told her. Her friend says that she knew he'd be trouble the minute he stepped out. Then Song Gae tells her that from now on, when they hang out, she won't be the only one calling him daddy. Wei's eyes go wide, and her cheeks rival the redness of a stop sign. She doesn't want to believe what's in her head. Just then, she hears a voice that pulls her from her thoughts. Zhang and his nerdy buddy were saying that this whole thing is fishy. She leans in to eavesdrop, staying hidden. Li Feng is agreeing, saying the protagonist is definitely lying, and saying that there are too many holes in his story. His friend just leans against the wall, looking skeptical. They add that saying that the Queen of Zhangcheng helping someone run a settlement sounds super crazy, therefore, Chen Bai cannot be trusted. Back in Dreamy's dream house, Chen Bai arrives through the pink butterfly totem. He says that he made some arrangements in the real world, which is why he's a bit late, and jokes that he's the last one to show up. As he steps in, he spots 3 people in the room. Meng Meng is lounging on the sofa. A boy in a hooded sweatshirt is sitting beside her, and another boy wearing a gas mask and a green hood stands behind the sofa. The boy on the sofa stands up and pulls off his hood, revealing himself as Han Xiao, or King Han. With a cringe but charming smile, he greets Chen Bai, saying he's finally found him and adds that he always knew Chen would be handsome, but he's even more stunning than he imagined. Pause, bro. Meng Meng rolls her eyes, clearly annoyed by the flirting. She puts her hands on her hips and protests about the excessive compliments. Cringe boy says that he's just being honest. The boy in the gas mask finally breaks his aura's silence, introducing himself as Crow. He explains that Meng Meng said she could bring one more friend to the group, so he came to round out the numbers. Crow boasts about his talent being the embodiment of fear, graded at SS. Han Xiao looks down, feeling a bit shy between the 2 talented friends. Crow with his SS talent, and Meng Meng with an impressive SSS talent. He sighs, realizing that his mental control, graded at S, is the weakest in the room. The protagonist steps closer, reassuring the kid that even if his talent isn't as strong, his luck seems to be pretty good. He points out that if this situation had happened just a couple of days ago, Meng Meng wouldn't have been able to help him. Back then, Meng Meng could only bring them into the dream world using her position, but she learned to use her dream as a core to bring everyone to her house only the day before. Han Xiao says that he's always been pretty lucky. The protagonist tells him that they need to get to the point since Dream Girl doesn't have much time to keep all 4 of them in the dream world. Han dives into it, explaining there's a dungeon with a specific mission for him, and that he'll send over a screenshot. He adds that the dungeon isn't close by, so they'll chat while they make their way there. The mission description pops up. Family mystery, exclusive mission grade S. It says he found a medical record from the Red Star Psychiatric Hospital tucked away in his dad's stuff, and it mentions an aunt he's never heard of. The record talks about a familial genetic disorder that's got him curious. He wonders what this genetic disorder is, why no one ever mentioned his aunt, and if his powerful mental talent is tied to this disorder. The Red Star Psychiatric Hospital seems to be the key to unraveling this family mystery. The group walks through the dream space until they reach the spot where the mission entrance is waiting. A red portal stands before them. Han steps forward and says this is the Red Star Psychiatric Hospital. He shares that by the time he found it, it had turned into a dungeon. He tried it once but quickly backed out because the level 12 nightmare monsters were way too tough for him. He couldn't wait to level up and come back. After ditching the dungeon, he got a heads up from the cosmos that someone noticed him and could take everything. Chen raises his hand, surprising everyone, and simply says he gets it. The system then sends a prompt, asking if he wants to lead the team into the dungeon of the Red Star Psychiatric Hospital. As a bright light shines from his feet, he confidently replies yes, pulling the group into the dream space. Now in the magical city, inside the dungeon of the Red Star Psychiatric Hospital, Crow squints from a distance and spots a little monster. He expresses his unease about the place, and Dreamy Girl hugs herself. saying she feels a bad vibe. Cringe Boy warns them that the monsters at the start of the dungeon aren't pushovers, so they'd better watch out. A creature pulls up, a zombie woman dressed as a nurse, trembling with a syringe in hand, moaning as she walks awkwardly. They name her the Monster Nurse. Crow steps up and tells everyone to hold on, wanting to test her strength. The nurse suddenly jumps at him with surprising ferocity. Crow quickly summons a huge scarecrow radiating a creepy green aura, activating his talent, Incorporation of Fear. The nurse stumbles back, her eyes wide with terror as she gasps for air, clearly freaked out. Crow uses fear mode and snaps his fingers. The nurse explodes like she just had an explosive heart attack, leaving everyone stunned. The system announces that a team member has taken down a crazy nurse, sharing the experience points. Meng Meng steps back, eyeing the remains, and says that this feels like a villain boss. Han is blown away and talks about how powerful Crow's ability is. The protagonist crosses his arms, simply playing the laid-back cool character dude in every anime. A translucent blue skill card drops from the nurse's remains with the words, Sharp Thought, Scream Explosion, Active D, which launches a mental attack with a sharp scream, causing mental damage in a certain range. The sound will attract nearby monsters. Crow grabs the card, showing it off and declaring their luck at getting a skill drop. Chen tells Han Xiao and Dream Girl that since they both have mental talents, they should decide who gets the card. The Cringe Boy brushes it off, saying he doesn't need it and just wants items for his exclusive mission. He adds that his talent already has a similar ability. Meng Meng steps forward, takes the card from Crow, and thanks him, saying she won't hold back. She embraces the card, and her hair dances with a powerful pink and purple aura. The system announces that she's learned a new skill, Thought Explosion with Sharp Scream. Chen approaches her, touching her arm gently, and encourages her to use the skill. Meng Meng flinches, explaining that the skill's damage range isn't great, but the sound travels far, even attracting monsters in other rooms. Their leader reassures her that's exactly what they need because searching every room would be too tedious. He tells her not to worry, everything will be fine. Blushing, Meng Meng levitates and unleashes a sharp scream, followed by an explosive wave of pink aura that spreads throughout the area, drawing monsters from every corner. The protagonist watches as the creatures start to swarm towards them, declaring that this monster-attracting trick really works. There are tons of monsters in this place, Han Xiao says nervously, watching the zombies closing in around the group. Crow tells everyone to be careful and not to get distracted while taking his position. The girl turns to the protagonist, looking a bit scared, and asks if they can really handle this many. Chen, with his hands in his pockets, stays chill and assures her that it's no problem, saying it's a great chance to test out his newly upgraded abilities. He scratches his neck, stretching a bit. Han raises his hands, summoning daggers that hover around him, all wrapped in purple energy. He feels reassured by Chen's confidence and declares it's time to start the massacre. He hurls the daggers at the zombies, landing perfect headshots like a pro. Crow then unleashes a black aura from his feet, activating Source of Fear. Black tentacles shoot out, grabbing the zombies in various spots. Suddenly, there's a massive explosion in the distance, sending debris flying. It's Meng Meng, who casually pulls out a bazooka and blows up a bunch of zombies. The group is left in shock, staring wide-eyed. Dreamy Girl says it's so good, and they should do it again. Han turns to her in disbelief, seeing her spawn a bazooka like some GTA cheat code. He wonders out loud how powerful it is to create stuff in dreams. He jokes, asking if Meng Meng will be able to build a Gundam in the future. Crow is looking clearly entertained, but then he looks at their leader, wondering why he hasn't jumped into the action yet. Meanwhile, the protagonist has activated his claws and is just waiting, thinking to himself that the energy is at its limit. He notices the cooldown for this skill is a bit slow, making it hard to charge it up fully during a fight. Finally, he announces that it's time. He slams his fists into the ground and uses his Earth Spike's power. The ground erupts as black energy spikes shoot up, impaling the zombies from below. A huge cloud of dust swirls up, creating a forest of spikes. Everyone stares at him, wide-eyed and amazed. Double Meng gasps, calling him so powerful, while Crow and the other dudes stutter in disbelief, praising him. But just as the protagonist basks in the glory, two nurse creatures sneak up behind him without him noticing. The Cringe Boy spots them and rushes forward, yelling that the two are still alive and he'll handle them. Chen raises a hand, signaling him to wait, casually explaining that he intentionally left those two mini-boss nurses for himself. Chen Bai moves his left hand, summoning dark energy tentacles that wrap around the two nurse creatures, lifting them off the ground and immobilizing them in midair. Han Xiao, who had rushed to help, stops dead in his tracks, completely stunned. He can barely stutter out a response, realizing their leader just caught them with one hand, like it's nothing. Crow, trying to comfort him, silently pats his shoulder, The system then flashes a message to Chen Bai, telling him that his black light ability has evolved. With this thought, he decides to give it a go and places his hand on top of the nurses' heads. Their arms are still shackled by the black tentacles, and oddly enough, their nurse uniforms disappear, replaced by regular clothes. Suddenly, the protagonist finds himself pulled into a disturbing vision. He sees a woman, barely clothed, crawling on the floor with strange inscriptions carved into her skin. Other women are tied to crosses, inscriptions on their bellies, with barbed wire digging into their bodies, looking like something straight out of Kakashi and Itachi's nightmare genjutsu. They are panicking, begging to be left alone, trembling on the floor as they try to escape. A man in a blood-stained lab coat stands in the center of the room, smiling creepily. He addresses one of the nurses as Nurse Kang and tells her to calm down. The vision flashes again, showing another memory. The same man, now wearing glasses, fixes a nurse's hair, scolding her for her weak mental state. He says she was supposed to be an offering to the master, but now she's useless. Her only fate is to be a sacrifice for next month. Another nurse with red hair, standing by a counter, turns and speaks to a black-haired nurse, consoling her about how everyone is avoiding her because of Nurse Kang's tragic situation. The black-haired nurse responds sadly, admitting she liked Nurse Kang too. In the next scene, Nurse Kang is tied to a hospital bed, thrashing around and repeating the number 16 over and over. Nurse Wang, watching from nearby, laments how such a good and beautiful person could lose her mind so suddenly. Chen, still holding onto Kang's head, is lost in thought, piecing everything together. The number 16 and the demon formation, it all starts clicking. Chen remembers hearing something about this psychiatric hospital in his past life when he was a demon hunter. The place was known for its connection to demons, where rituals could summon them. Back then, his level was far above the hospital's power, so he never gave it much thought, only skimming over posts about it on the Evolutionaries forum. It's all starting to make sense now. Chen Bai releases the nurses and turns to the group, saying it's time to focus on finding clues for Han Xiao's mission. He tells everyone to stay cautious and not wander off, since there could still be some nasty creatures lurking around. After about half an hour of searching the hospital, Han Xiao notes that all the monsters seem to have been taken care of by now. They haven't come across any for a while, and despite covering 3 floors, they've found 0 clues. As they climb another set of stairs, Han Xiao complains about the lack of leads, but Meng Meng speaks up, reminding him that the number 16 keeps popping up. Crow adds to this as he climbs ahead, thinking about how frequently they've seen it around. When they reach the next floor behind the protagonist, Crow throws his hands up in frustration, asking who cares if it's 16 or 18. He just wants to know why the boss hasn't shown up yet. Maybe the boss is scared of their leader and doesn't dare make a move. That's when a powerful aura suddenly hits the group like a ton of bricks, full of murderous intent. A chilling voice emerges from the darkness, telling them that one of them is a bit too cocky. The group immediately gets into action. Crow calls forth his scarecrow, Han Xiao makes his daggers levitate, and Meng Meng forms twin swords. Chen casually releases some of his energy, ready to react, while the group yells for whoever's lurking in the shadows to come out. From the dark corners, a massive creature slowly steps forward. It's a demon, sporting long twisted horns, bloody claws, glasses, and an elongated chin. The demon introduces himself as the director of the Red Star Mental Hospital and an envoy of the 16th demon from the 72 Pillars of Solomon. Meng Meng stands there, completely angry, while Han looks shocked. He says that the guy is a demon, and Crow calls the title Envoy of the Demon God. The demon, acting all smug, tells them not to bother pretending to be calm because their only fate is becoming sacrifices for his master. He then eyes Meng Meng, saying if she's willing to bear his master's children and serve loyally, maybe he'll spare her life. Dreamy Girl instantly replies, yelling that the demon can dream on if he thinks she's going to bear an ugly demon kid for his master. The protagonist, ready to stand premiumly on business, steps forward and taunts the demon. He points out that this low-level demon, who used to be human, is being awfully cocky. If the demon really has the guts, he should stop with the speeches and actually show some power. Chen Bai's hands ignite in purple flames as his claws come out, ready to fight. The demon calls the mandem clueless for not understanding the real power he got from his master. As he raises his arms, he roars real heavily, and suddenly the whole room feels like it's closing in. A heavy, terrifying aura spreads everywhere, making everyone feel crushed. Even Chen Bai and the others start to struggle, the weight pressing them down hard. Han Xiao grabs his head, trying to figure out what's going on. It feels like his brain is going to blow up soon. Meng Meng freaks out, rushing over to Chen Bai while holding her face in pain and agony, and feeling blood dripping from him. Chen adjusts himself, thinking fast. He knows exactly what they're dealing with, a psychic-type demon. Just his luck, he hates these the most. The kind that uses mental pressure to mess with you non-stop. Chen Bai's got decent psychic power, but no actual psychic abilities to fight back with. Dragging this fight out? Definitely a bad idea, but he sure has to wrap this up fast. Chen doesn't waste time, he charges straight at the demon, his energy flaring up. He dodges the demon's attack and slams his fist right into the demon's gut, making the creature hunch over in pain. But the demon isn't fazed. Instead, it exhales this crazy black and red fire that spreads out across the room like wildfire. Chen quickly activates his shield to block it, stepping back just in time. That would have been hell, literally, a demon in red flames. The demon, still standing but clearly annoyed, mocks Chen, saying that it's a pity how strong he is and how much he can resist, but he won't last long against his Amaterasu jutsu. He's all smug, acting like the hellfire and psychic pressure will wear Chen Bai down until he collapses. And as Chen Bai's vision starts to blur, and his head pounds from the mental strain, the demon gets even cockier. He's yelling about how there's no way out, no escape, and he wants them to squirm in fear. But then, out of nowhere, Han starts laughing. Loud and confident. He stands up straight, grinning like he's not feeling any pressure at all anymore. Crow looks around, confused, realizing the heavy, crushing feeling is gone. It's like the air has cleared. Meng Meng, still confused, watches the kid casually touch his head, acting like nothing happened. It seems like by releasing just a bit of his psychic power, he can cancel out the demon's pressure. Turns out he had it in him all along, but it just kicked in now. Better late than never. The demon stands at the end of the corridor, eyeing the boy with so much annoyance for treating his psychic power like it's a level 1 Tetris game. He recognizes him as a descendant of the Han family, a bloodline connected to his master. But that doesn't faze him. He's confident that even with Han resisting the psychic pressure thanks to his blood, the hellfire would still turn him into ashes. Han Xiao just steps forward and mocks the demon. He calls him out, basically asking him why he would want to kill his master's own blood since he's as loyal as his lapdog. He adds that his master might turn him into demon soup for that. The demon just laughs, saying that Han is nothing but someone who wants to betray his master. He thinks killing him would actually not even get him a nice reward. So the demon leans back, starting to gather a massive ball of flame in his chest, ready to unleash hellfire. The group doesn't wait for an invitation. They charge at him, with Crow leading the way, shouting that they need to stop him before he can unleash the fire. But just as they're about to reach him, the demon sneezes instead. Talk about being super anticlimactic. Everyone stops in their tracks, staring in disbelief. Crow mocks the demon dude, asking him if he's caught a little cold. Han, standing next to Dream Girl, tilts his head, asking if this is some weird new attack. The protagonist, hands on his hips, smiles casually, saying that it took a little longer to take effect than expected. He compliments the demon's constitution, saying it's not bad for a lower demon. The demon starts coughing uncontrollably, struggling to speak as he demands to know what Chen did to him. Chen walks up, getting real close, and calmly explains that it's just a skill he used. It makes enemies sneeze constantly, but he's upgraded it recently. The skill is now called flu and lung infection. The system screen pops up, revealing the skill description to be flu, skill evolution, lung infection. Apparently, once the skill hits a target, it takes anywhere from 1 second to 10 minutes to kick in, depending on how strong the enemy is. The demon is furious, coughing harder, cursing, and shouting that it's impossible for him to get sick. But the system isn't done yet. The description continues, explaining the second phase. If the target's constitution drops below half, recovery abilities will plummet to less than 90%. Focus becomes nearly impossible, and they'll get hit with 5 to 10 more disease-related debuffs. Breathing will start to fail too. The demon's face twists in disbelief, realizing he's not just sneezing, he's in big trouble. The protagonist watches the demon stumble around, barely able to stay upright, leaning on the walls and struggling to breathe. The creature keeps mumbling about how it's on a higher level, how this shouldn't be happening. But then the system pops up with the final nail in the coffin. Third phase, loss of the ability to breathe. The demon collapses, gasping for air, its body trembling as it slowly suffocates. The protagonist stands over the demon, feeling pretty pleased with himself. He thinks it was worth all those virus points he used. The system lets everyone know that they've defeated the dungeon boss, Zhao Changlin, and earned 30,000 experience points based on their contributions to the battle. Chen turns to see the group of students, all huddled together, shaking and covering their mouths like they're terrified of catching something. He's confused for a second until Han mutters that they're trying not to breathe because of the virus. Meng Meng adds that she doesn't want to catch a cold, while Crow just stands there looking anxious, even though he's got a gas mask on. Chen reassures them, saying they won't get sick unless he releases the virus. Everyone relaxes, and Crow even pulls off his mask, finally calming down. Meng Meng flops down on the ground, looking exhausted but relieved, praising Chen's crazy ability. Han praises him very cringely, showing that he's super impressed. But their leader waves off the compliments, saying this only works on demons with weak bodies, and not every monster needs to breathe. Then he turns to Han and asks about the progress on his exclusive mission. Han checks his system window, confused why it isn't over yet. Chen figures the mission clue is still hidden somewhere in the dungeon and tells everyone to search for it. As they start looking, Chen casually mentions he plans to upload the dungeon cleanup video. He asks if anyone wants to show their face and get famous. Crow immediately throws his mask back on, asking Chen to hide their faces. Meng Meng quickly agrees, not wanting to be recognized either. Han, still focused on his task, tells them to chill out and check what loot the boss dropped before helping him find the clue. Not long after, Chen uploads the video. It's titled, "The Evolved Bai Clears Nightmare Dungeon Red Star Psychiatric Hospital with team members Meng Meng, Han Wang, and Crow." The video, which costs 5 copper coins to view, quickly spreads online. Song Ziqiang and her bodyguard get the notification and rush to watch it, along with tons of other awakened ones curious to see the diseased demon showdown. In a hotel room on the 15th floor in Jiangcheng, the group is watching a video of Chen Bai cleaning out the hospital dungeon. Zhang stands behind the sofa, while Wei is sitting in front. Zhang says he recognizes those white claws. Even though the person's face is hidden, the white figure in the video is definitely Chen Bai. Wei crosses her arms, annoyed, waiting for someone else to say something. The man with glasses nervously speaks up, trying to defend his earlier claim that the protagonist wasn't at the hotel. He admits that maybe it's him in the video, but all it proves is that Chen has strong combat skills, nothing more. Zhang Luoping agrees, but says this makes things even scarier. He suggests that Chen Bai could be using everyone who goes to his base, draining them to make himself stronger. That would explain his crazy strength. Wei gets up too, clearly fed up. She says it's obvious that Li Feng and Chen Bai don't get along. She accuses him of being mad just because Chen didn't give him any equipment, and then turns to Zhang Luoping, frustrated that he's still being stubborn. She quickly pulls out her phone and shows everyone a video. In the video, there's this creepy wall of flesh, swallowing up dead bodies. Zhang's smug expression drops immediately. He's clearly freaked out, asking what kind of monster this is. Wei explains that Song Ge sent her this recording, and she insists they all watch it together. The video continues, showing Song Ge talking about the wall of flesh. He explains that it's part of the settlement's defense system, and only eats dead bodies. He teases Xu Wei a bit, asking if she's scared because she's been curious about the settlement. Then, her friend gives more details about the place. The base of the mountain is packed with people, and anyone can stay there for a small fee, but troublemakers get dealt with harshly. The slopes are where relatives and trusted folks live, and the villas at the top are safe but exclusive. Songge keeps teasing her friend about Chen, calling him a pervert, but says Wei might end up at the top soon enough. He finishes by admitting he needs to level up his strength, because even if they all team up, they're still not strong enough to handle the protagonist. The video ends, leaving the group in stunned silence. They all realize that Chen Bai's strength and the true nature of his settlement are way more complicated and unsettling than they thought. When the video finishes, Zhang Luoping leans in toward Wei, asking her if she asked Song Ge how many hot ladies Chen Bai has in his collection. Wei's face turns red, and she gets a bit embarrassed. She quickly tries to brush it off, covering her face and thinking she should have watched the video before sending it to others. Li Feng tries to cut the tension, speaking up and saying it's not a big deal. He admits he didn't realize how strong Chen Bai actually is, and claims he was just suggesting things to discuss. But Zhang Luoping isn't having it. He suddenly pushes Li Feng back, getting all desperate, and tells Wei she can't become Chen Bai's woman. Wei whirls around, confused and annoyed, and asks when she ever said she wanted to be with Chen Bai. Zhang Luoping blushes, butchering his words like the desperate loser he is, and steps closer, telling her how Chen Bai is a player with many women, and that Wei wouldn't want to be part of that. He awkwardly tries to confess, saying he only wants her. But Wei's had enough. She raises her hand, signaling him to stop, and with a serious expression tells him to back off. She reminds Zhang Luoping that she's rejected him multiple times, even before the apocalypse. She tells him flat out that she has no feelings for him and doesn't like him, making it crystal clear. Look how they massacred my boy. Meanwhile, up and away in the dream space, Chen Bai stands on the 4th floor of the Red Star Psychiatric Hospital instance, going through the loot from the boss he just defeated. His team watches from a distance, a little on edge as the protagonist absorbs the creature's matter. Suddenly, a system message pops up next to him, telling him that the organism contains special lineage factors. The system gives him 2 choices. Either he continues absorbing or expel the lineage factors. Absorbing them would affect his black light virus and the host, which is yours truly, of course. As his tentacles finish absorbing, Chen Bai says something about the demon lineage, wondering if it's the reward demons give to their servants. Deciding to expel the lineage, he watches as a small vial with red liquid forms in his hand. The system describes it as blood essence of a demon, a Class A item, a potion that grants part of the demon lineage if devoured. The protagonist is a little surprised. It actually forms an item instead of just disappearing like he thought it would. He asks his team if the boss dropped anything good. Han pulls out 2 scrolls. He's excited, showing off the loot, a Hell Messenger work scroll and a book of Black Flame skills, both Class A. Meng Meng adjusts her glasses and pulls out a sheet, revealing a blueprint for some armor and a Class D equipment. The blueprint shows a drawing of a goat's head engulfed in blue flames and is titled Blueprint of the Armor Called from Hell, Shepherd's Horn, Class S. Chen Bai thinks it over, pure demon horns. He definitely knows where to find them. Deciding on the distribution, Chen keeps the blueprint for himself, mentioning that he'll figure out how to get the horns later. Han Xiao gets the work scroll since he's aligned with the demon lineage. The skill scroll goes to Meng Meng, and Crow, who helped a lot, gets the equipment. Han and the rest of the crew are really happy with how Chen handled the loot, while everyone seems satisfied with the fair split with Han cringing it out again. Meng Meng finds an old diary and starts reading to the group. She tells them about a woman from the Han family who fell for the avatar of Jipai 100 years ago. Since that moment, every generation in the Han family has twins, a boy and a girl. The girls have to stay in this hospital when they grow up, becoming friends with Jipai's brides. The boys live their lives, get married, and have kids, totally unaware of this twisted fate. She dives back into the story, explaining how Han's dad found out the truth about their family's messed up history about 12 years ago. He didn't want his daughter to end up trapped here forever serving a demon, so he made a horrific choice. He tried to kill his newborn daughter. The group is stunned, tension filling the air. Meng Meng continues, sharing how Zhao Changlin found out what Han Yang was planning. He stepped in to stop him and then told Jipai everything. Because of Han Yang's betrayal, he was stripped of his bloodline. After that, Jipai took Han Xiang's sister away to raise her somewhere else. As a twisted reward for his actions, Zhao Changlin received demon blood, which just makes him look like Kabuto in the 4th Great Ninja War. Real scary. The diary they found belongs to the Dean, and it's filled with jealousy about the Han family and loyalty to Han Yang, despite his foolish choices. There are also sections about rewards and how to get benefits after finishing certain tasks. Hao walks up to her after she finishes reading. He thanks her, saying he got his next mission from the diary. He shares that long texts usually give him a headache, so he's grateful for her help. Meng Meng smiles, saying she enjoys hunting for clues like this. Meanwhile, Chen Bai is still examining the statue closely, circling it. Meng Meng asks him if something's wrong with it. The protagonist touches one of the sharp spikes on the statue and says that of course there is. He pulls on it, and suddenly the room shakes, revealing a hidden door in the wall. Crow is amazed, talking about the discovery. Hao Xiao asks if it's a secret room, and Meng Meng talks about how there are even more secrets, and Chen is happy about this new find, and leads the group into the passage. They start going down a staircase that has just opened up. At one point, the protagonist says they must have come from the 4th floor to the basement. Hao Xiao counts the steps, and figures they're at least 2 or 3 floors down now. Leading the way, Chen mentions they're almost there. He believes they're heading to the place where Zhao Changlin communicates with the demon and performs the rituals. They finally reach a double door. When they open it, they see a strange circle of upside-down crosses and mystical writings on the floor. The group moves closer, and Crown sniffs the air, talking about the strong smell of blood. In the center, the protagonist crouches down, holding something in his hands. Meng Meng asks what he finds. Chen stands up and says he will show them. On their screens, an image pops up of a shiny golden medallion with a description, Hell Teleport Circle, Special Item. It says the circle, marked with the symbol of Hell, can be used to bring back a rare demon to the hospital. But to use it, they have to sacrifice lives, along with their souls and blood. The note adds that the item is unique and warns that any summoned demon will be limited to level 12 because of the dungeon's difficulty. After summoning, the dungeon becomes much harder, at Hell level. Hao Xiao is shocked, saying they can summon a demon. Crown stares wide-eyed, realizing there is a level restriction. Meng Meng, on the other hand, is excited. She smiles and asks if they can summon the demon and then kill it. Wouldn't that be a huge win? But behind her, Crown shakes his head, worried. Chen Bai looks at her and asks what level she is. He is level 8. The others say that they are level 5, 4, or almost at 4. Chen makes a slicing motion with his hand and points out that summoning that demon would mean instant death for them. With levels below 10, no profession and no equipment, they really don't stand a chance against a level 12 demon. Hao Xiao asks if Chen Bai is there, referring him as Emperor Bai. Chen Bai humbly guides him by the shoulders and says even he can't make it happen. The gap between a demon and a weak-blooded demon is huge, and they need to know that. He suggests they head back, level up, and get some professions. Crown turns to Meng Meng, asking her to make sure to take him along next time. Meng Meng winks at him and smiles, saying he will be prioritized. The group heads back to the statue room, and Meng Meng asks if the dungeon is done. Does anyone have anything else they want to do? Hao Xiao scratches his head and says there is something he can't figure out. He points out that a demon's descendant also has a sister, and he wonders if she will be different or if they'll look the same. He thinks it might just be a coincidence, but it feels important. Chen Bai touches Hao Xiao's shoulder and asks why he brings that up. Did something happen with his father before the apocalypse? Hao Xiao shakes his head, saying he doesn't have a close relationship with him. To him, his dad is just an ordinary man. The most unusual thing about his father is that he turns into a different type of zombie than the others. In Crown's mind, he pictures a red zombie with horns and white hair, saying that it sounds super cool. But Hao Xiao has a tense look and shakes his head. He explains that his dad turns into a plague zombie, covered in purple and green fungal spots. Those spots feel dangerous, and he doesn't dare to touch him. Because of that, he quickly learns telepathy using his psychic powers. It's his father's last lesson. Chen Bai turns, interested, and asks if a plague zombie is what he means. Hao Xiao says it's probably related to the Chinese plague disease his dad studies. He mentions that the neighbors have spots too. Chen pauses for a moment, thinking that this might be connected to the SSS level plague sect mission. He looks at Hao Xiao and says he's really interested in that chemical plant. When he gets to Shanghai, he wants Hao Xiao to take him there. Hao Xiao agrees, saying it's no problem. Crown raises his hand, eager to ask Chen Bai about his abilities. Chen Bai smiles, saying everyone can ask questions or share information now. He thinks about how today's adventure has gone well, and he even got some clues about the Plague Lord's mission. Later, back in Jiangcheng, in hotel room 1503, Chen Bai rests on the bed. Slowly, the sounds of coughing pull him back to consciousness. Startled, he notices 3 boys sprawled on the floor around his bed, all coughing. He asks what was wrong with them. One of the boys tries to call out, but his voice is too weak. Chen Bai helps the 2 of them outside, asking what is going on. He reminds them that he told them not to enter the room because he released several viruses to prevent accidents. As one boy flops onto the couch, he coughs and says he has 20 diseases now. The other boy, looking equally bad, replies he's got 30 and that all his attributes are at 0. He complains he's going to die and asks Chen Bai if he has any antidotes. Chen gets up and reassures them he already removed the viruses. He tells them their abilities will come back soon. He tells them to rest while he goes to find Jiang. Wei rushes over to Chen and warns him that Zhang Luoping is actually here to kill him. Chen Bai gets very shocked, and he asks why. She explains that it all started because her friend didn't believe in the settlement Chen mentioned. She asked Song Ge to record a video to prove it, but when she refused, Zhang freaked out. He shouted the protagonist's name, claiming he'd kill him. He thinks all their problems started when Chen showed up, and that killing him would solve everything. They sit at a table, sipping water, and Chen leans back in his chair in disbelief. He calls Jiang an idiot and wonders what kind of logic that is. Wei agrees, saying he is an idiot. She shares how he threatened any girl he interacted with, even forcing her childhood friend to drop out of school. She explains that if Song Ge hadn't protected her, Zhang Luoping would have used the same tactics on her. She adds that being stuck in the hotel with him makes every day feel like a year. The protagonist listens, and Wei admits she feels really happy knowing how strong he is now and that Song Ge is still alive. After a while, Zhang Luoping coughs violently in the room, and the 2 get up to head toward the door. Wei turns back and asks if Zhang Luoping has been trapped for a while and if he's already dead. The protagonist replies no, saying common viruses weaken quickly, but take longer to be fatal. Wei then gets an idea and leans toward Chen. She says she hates Jiang so much and wants him to die while seeing horror with his eyes wide open. They open the door to find Zhang Luoping slumped against the bed, still coughing. The protagonist spots the poor guy's red and irritated eyes and seizes the moment, quickly leaning in to kiss Wei. He asks her if a kiss would be enough to irritate Jiang. She replies that it should be sufficient, but adds that it's her first kiss. Look how they massacred my boy for the 2nd time. 2 days later in Wuchang, Chen Bai is bouncing between tree branches in the forest outside the city. When Song Ziqiang calls him up, he answers and asks what's up. Sitting in her office chair, Song Ziqiang reports that they've picked up Wei Shiwei and the others along the river road and are on their way back. The protagonist congratulates them, appreciating the update. Then, Song Ziqiang adds, there's something else. She tells him that people on the Evolved forum have been buzzing about a mysterious chat group full of experts. Rumors are flying that Chen Bai is the owner of this group, which consists of pioneers who awakened their abilities before the apocalypse. Chen Bai pauses on a branch, thinking about the chat group. He confirms it, saying it's Chat Group 001. He reminds her about the post he asked her to promote before the apocalypse. Song Ziqiang smiles, excited about how many experts are in the group and how they'll be a great asset in the future. She then asks how to deal with the posts on the forum discussing Chat Group 001. Chen Bai jumps down to the ground and reassures her that she doesn't need to worry about it for now. He plans to check out the posts first and then make a decision. He tells her to send him the titles of the most discussed posts. She quickly responds, saying that she'd do that right away. When she sends the titles, there's also a mention from the owner of Chat Group 002, suggesting that Chat Group 001 was likely created before the judgment. As Chen Bai reads through the messages, he thinks it's time to make Chat Group 001 famous. He realizes this could boost their influence and deterrent power while giving the group members a sense of unity. It'll also make it easier to recruit specialists for the group in the future. As Chen Bai walks a bit more, the once green and lively place around him turns dry and lifeless. Soon, the forest is nothing but dead trees and bones scattered everywhere. The sky turns red, and a message shows up, warning him that he has entered the secret dungeon called the Village of the Demon Worshippers. Chen Bai thinks to himself that this is the spot he has been searching for. He remembers this is the secret dungeon where, in his previous life, he got the mission to transfer to the S-rank Demon Hunter class. A list of tasks pops up in front of him. First, he needs to stop the villagers from summoning the demon. Then, he has to kill all the corrupted villagers, which is marked as difficulty C. Finally, the toughest part. Defeat both the summoned demon and the remaining villagers, marked as difficulty S. Flashback time, Chen remembers how, in the past, a shady-looking dude named Chen Yiqiang once suggested taking the easy route. The plan was to clear Task 2, then leave the dungeon and fairly divide the loot among the team. Those who didn't win any gear would get paid in gold coins instead. Yiqiang always treated his people well, or so it seemed. Chen Bai remembers how he trusted Yiqiang back then just to make some quick gold, and ended up joining his team in this very same dungeon. But what he didn't know was that Yiqiang had other plans. Yiqiang purposely messed up, letting the villagers summon the demon, but he made sure his team stayed safe by leaving the fight area. Yiqiang's real goal was to use Chen Bai and the others as bait to weaken the demon. He threw a spear at them, telling them the only way to survive was to weaken the demon to a level that pleased him. It was then that everyone realized they had been tricked. Yiqiang had already locked down the battlefield and trapped them in. He didn't hold back, and wiped out anyone who tried to make a run for it. He had gathered a group of nearly 100, all made up of solo players or small groups, all just trying to survive, and he betrayed every single one of them. No one manages to pull together a proper defense in time. Once they realize there's no way out, the survivors have no choice but to turn and face the demon, hanging on to the slim hope they might survive. But that hope quickly fades as they all turn demon lunch one by one. Only after everyone is down does Brother Chang lead his team to attack the worn-out demon. What Big Brother Chang doesn't know is that Chen Bai is still alive. Knowing that staying would mean death, Chen Bai sneaks away during the fight, heading to the edge of the battle. He tries to use the trick that completing the first 2 tasks lets you escape from the edge of the secret realm. Just as he's about to exit though, Brother Chang's team finishes off the demon and starts rolling for loot. Since Chen Bai is still part of the group, he gets included in the roll. To his surprise, he ends up winning the Demon Hunter Scroll, an S-rank item. Ironically, the system they use to cheat others backfires on them, costing them the best reward. Karma in the end has the last laugh. Joker too though. Afterward, Brother Chang goes on a wild hunt for Chen Bai, forcing him to run away from Wu Chang and find a new place to hide. Now back in the present, Chen thinks it's a shame he couldn't see the look on Yiqiang's face when that happened. He continues on his way, only to stop suddenly when he notices a corpse on the ground. It's a dead, corrupted villager, making him pause and think that someone else must be in the secret realm. He reassures himself that, before Yiqiang kills the demon and clears the secret realm for the first time in his previous life, there should still be around 2 months left, so there's no rush. But still, he wonders, who could have found this place so early? Meanwhile, in the village's central square within the secret dungeon, others are battling zombies, spearing them down. A message pops up saying Task 2 is complete, and experience points have been awarded. They figure out they can leave the secret dungeon from the edge of the village. One of them says Zhang Long was right all along. Task 2 is done, so they can bounce. The crew decides to head out, planning to come back another time to deal with the boss. As they get ready to go, one dude freaks out and says someone's coming. It's Chen Bai strolling towards them, all casual, asking if they're really leaving and if he can take on the boss. One guy tells him sure, which makes Chen realize, oh wow, it's Brother Chang. He's surprised they found this dungeon so early. One of them throws out a warning about the level 11 demon boss. Chen gives him a quick thanks and watches them walk away. Then, out comes this huge demon, all muscles and horns, roaring like he's in charge, talking trash like Chen's already dead meat. Chen just stands there for a second, thinking about how long it's been since he's fought a small-time demon like this. Usually he wipes them out in packs. The demon's all fired up, calling Chen names, but before it can even finish, Chen is already slicing it up like it's nothing. Neon bruises pop up on the demon, and it barely knows what hit it. Chen's just chilling, thinking back on his years as a demon hunter in his past life, knowing he's taken out so many low-level demons that their moves are like a boring routine. He knows exactly where to strike, and the demon drops. Chen feels pretty good, thinking he's still got it. Meanwhile, Brother Chang's group is losing it. They get 5,000 experience and a cool instant kill item for just being there, and they're shocked. One guy is so confused, asking if Chen somehow absorbed the demon's body. Xiang tells them to check it out. They all head back to where the protagonist is standing, and he notices them coming. He turns around, asking if they're back because they want some of the loot. Chang laughs and opens his arms wide, acting all friendly, saying something about getting lost during his last run and forgetting the way back. Chen Bai, keeping a serious face, thinks to himself how smooth Chang is at playing things off. But deep down, Chen Bai already knows Yiqiang's true colors. Chen picks up some of the loot he scored, casually listing off the good stuff, like a B-level demon lineage potion, an A-level one, and even a super rare S-level demon hunter mission scroll. He's teasing a bit, wondering if Yiqiang isn't even a little tempted by all these goodies. One of Yiqiang's guys isn't looking too happy as he hands over some vials with red liquid, grumbling about how these are the lineage potions everyone just got. Yiqiang turns to Chen Bai, saying he'd be lying if he said he didn't want them. But he plays it cool, saying that since Chen completed the task, the loot is rightfully his. Chen takes the vials and agrees, but he knows they didn't come back just to say congrats. He asks straight up what Brother Chang really wants. Yiqiang, still keeping that laid-back vibe, says it's no big deal, just want to make friends and maybe ask where Chen Bai lives. He claims he's been clearing out the western suburbs of Wuchang and wouldn't want to accidentally step into Chen's territory. Chen's expression stays serious as he thinks this through. The western suburbs? That's where Meng Meng lives, near the sports complex. Chang might be acting polite, but he's definitely fishing for info about what Chen's up to. Chen tells him not to worry, saying his base is in Jiangcheng, and all he knows about Wuchang's western suburbs is that there's a sports complex there. But in his head, he's trying to figure out what Brother Chang's crew is really up to near Meng Meng's place. Yiqiang responds, saying they just cleared the sports complex a few days ago and are working on the surrounding area now. He throws out the idea of being friends and helping each other out. Chen Bai, still serious, is thinking hard now. If they've already cleared the sports complex, it's all starting to make sense. These guys aren't just clearing. They're using it as an excuse to take over and wipe people out. No wonder no one came to help Meng Meng in his past life. She was probably taken out by these very people in the name of clearing. A notification pops up for Chen Bai, letting him know Meng Meng has sent a message. He quickly checks it. Meng Meng is scared, saying a bunch of evolved people just showed up in her neighborhood going door to door. She thinks they'll find her soon. Chen replies, telling her not to let them in and that he'll get there as fast as he can. Chen Bai sighs and starts releasing his tentacle aura. Yiqiang, seeing this, freaks out, stepping back in fear, asking what Chen's planning to do. But before he can say anything more, Chen curses and throws his tentacles at the young man, capturing him. He activates his evolution devour and memory reading powers, wrapping Yiqiang up in a cocoon. As Chiang's body is halfway absorbed, Chen tries to piece together the guy's memories, but they're all over the place. He can't figure out the exact location of the animal effect or where the sports complex is. Once he fully consumes Chiang's body, Chen looks at the rest of the group, now shaking in fear, and realizes he needs one of them alive to guide him. He figures the guy who warned him about the boss earlier might know something useful. Meanwhile, over in the western suburbs, in Building 16, Meng Meng's huddled in her room, gripping a baseball bat tightly. Someone is banging on her door, yelling for her to open up. They threaten to count to 3, and if no one answers, they're breaking in. Meng Meng, trembling, tries to stay calm, telling them to go away, warning them not to mess with her. The guy outside starts laughing and tells his buddies there's actually a girl inside. His 2 friends join in, teasing Meng Meng, calling her little sister and telling her to get ready because they're coming in. Meng Meng, scared but trying to stay brave, yells at them to leave. Her voice suddenly bursts with a strange energy, echoing through the room and hitting the men's ears like a shockwave. They scream as blood pours from their ears, and Meng Meng, weakened, drops the bat and falls to the floor. She coughs, her hand shaking as she touches her forehead, clearly terrified and exhausted from the effort. Blood trickles from Meng Meng's mouth, and she's struggling to breathe, thinking how her ability still drains her body too much. The mental attack only lasted a second, but it wrecked her throat and zapped most of her energy. She tries to reassure herself that with her mental strength, those guys must be knocked out cold now. Outside, the 3 attackers are unconscious, lying in a pool of blood. But one of them, right before passing out, manages to call for backup. He sends a desperate message to his crew, telling them about the girl with mental powers and urging them to come to the 12th floor of Building 16. He warns that his team is done for, and though she's strong, her mental attacks have drained her, leaving her vulnerable. 10 minutes later, the banging starts up again. Meng Meng, still breathing heavily, hears it and feels dread creep in. Her thoughts darken as she realizes more of them have come, and she's too weak to keep fighting much longer. The door suddenly crashes open, and a group of men walk in, mocking her. They're sleazy, talking about how she looks tired and sweaty, teasing her about not screaming this time, throwing disgusting lines her way. Meng Meng, barely able to move, crawls along the wall, knowing she's got just enough strength left for one last attack. She thinks to herself that she'll make them all pay, planning to unleash hellfire. Summoning what's left of her power, she engulfs them in purple flames, watching as they burn. But the effort takes everything out of her, and she collapses on the floor, gasping for breath, exhausted beyond measure. She remembers what her master said about how the 4 attributes, her powers, need to be balanced, and now she sees firsthand that relying too much on one isn't good. Just as she's down, another group of men enters the room. They spot her lying there, looking completely done for, and start taunting her. They give her a sick choice, kneel and beg, or die. But even with nothing left, Meng Meng's spirit refuses to break. She's determined to fight until the very last second. The guys are closing in, laughing and saying she must have already chosen death. They call for their buddies to join in and start grabbing her by her hair and arms, making snarky comments about how tough she is. As she struggles, Meng Meng cries out for help in her mind, wishing someone would save her. Just when it seems like it's time to see her game over screen, Chen Bai bursts through the window with perfect timing, like Superman ready to rescue Lois Lane. He kicks one guy right in the face, knocking him down, and then takes out another before grabbing Meng Meng and pulling her to safety, tossing the attackers aside like they're a pile of smelly trash. Meng Meng looks up at him, feeling so much relief as she manages to say he's finally here. She feels bad for letting him down, talking about how she almost didn't make it. But Chen Bai quickly reassures her, telling her it's not her fault and that she did great. He tells her to rest and that he'll take care of the rest. He looks up to them clearly pissed off and says that anyone who messes with his precious disciples won't be leaving this place alive. Chen Bai gently lays Meng Meng down on the sofa, but just when he thinks things might calm down, more armed thugs rush in. They're all pumped up, yelling about reinforcements and ready to attack. Chen doesn't waste any time. He leaps into action, taking them down with swift strikes from his claw and hammer. After knocking a few guys out, he looks around, wondering if there's anyone left to come through the door. Then he hears Meng Meng's shaky voice from the sofa, all sweaty and scared, saying she's still fighting. Chen immediately crouches down next to her, concern written all over his face. He realizes she's overwhelmed, her head pounding and her mind playing tricks on her. Meng Meng reaches out, asking where he is. Chen takes her hand, reassuring her that he's right there. He strokes her head gently, trying to calm her nerves. Just then, another thug barges in, swinging an axe, but Chen is quick. He impales the guy with a tentacle, lifting him up to the ceiling like a gruesome trophy. He tells Meng Meng not to worry, promising to protect her. As more thugs come in, they meet the same fate, taken down before they even get a chance to swing. Chen stays close to Meng Meng, determined to keep her safe. An hour passes, and now she's resting with her head in his lap. He looks down at her, thinking she seems a lot better now. The room is a mess with bodies, and just when he's feeling somewhat at ease, he notices someone approaching the door. A young man walks in and calls out to him. Chen strokes Meng Meng's head gently and asks if that means they've wiped out all of Chen Yichang's forces. The young man kneels, confirming that they followed Chen's plan and took out all of Yichang's trusted followers and core members. Curious, Chen asks if that means the young man has any followers left. The dude stammers that he doesn't have any trusted followers or core members, just a wife and kids. He explains he was forced to join the jerk due to his A-class detection talent, True Vision, which Yichang used to blackmail him into submission. If he hadn't been so talented, his family might have faced a fate similar to his neighbors and friends. The protagonist takes a moment to process everything. He reassures the young man, saying he understands his situation and appreciates the warning about the boss. He gently offers him the chance to join him in Jiangcheng, but it's clear he won't force anyone to do anything they don't want to. The young man stutters at first, but then he quickly agrees, mentioning that he was just hesitant because of all the people still trapped under Chen Yichang's control. Chen opens the window of his warehouse, looking out at the chaos outside. He says he can help those people, but it might get tricky if there are too many to bring to Jiangcheng all at once. He suggests the young man stay in Wuchang for now to stabilize things and hands him a potion to help boost his strength. Zhang Long accepts the potion with a grateful smile and thanks our hero repeatedly before heading off to take care of business. With him gone, Meng Meng is still sound asleep on the sofa, looking peaceful. Chen stays close, keeping an eye on her, and then turns his attention to the warehouse, giving the command to open it up. Inside, he sees a mask that looks kind of bummed out. He remembers it looked the same when he picked up the potion for Zhang Long. He realizes that what he placed in the warehouse earlier hasn't mutated yet, but now it contains the profession transfer mission scroll and those demonic bloodlines. Feeling curious, Chen starts to sift through the warehouse. Suddenly, he spots the demonic bloodline potion and notices the mask seems to be fixated on it. He picks up a handful of potions and holds them up, wondering if it wants to consume them. Since those inferior bloodline potions won't do him any good, he decides to see what happens if he feeds them to the mask. With the mask in his hands, he thinks about how even Leto would want this treasure. Maybe if he feeds it, it'll unlock some cool functions. Chen pours the potions into the mask's mouth, watching as it gobbles them up with a glowing smile, clearly enjoying the feast. 5 minutes later, the mask decides to reward Chen Bai in the most profiting way possible, by burping. The protagonist looks all disappointed and says this thing isn't living up to the hype. He talks about how he just fed it a bunch of fancy bloodline potions for a burp. At least it can handle some decent treasures. But then, out of nowhere, the mask barfs up a glob of purple goo, looking either like a small disgusting brain or a big disgusting gum. Chen stares at the mess on the floor, finding it weird that this thing uses the same mouth to eat and poop, and he's bummed that he has to clean that up now. He picks up the small spherical goo and realizes it's not just any old mess. He gets surprised and curious, and he starts feeling excited when a description pops up which is ordinary demonic bloodline essence. Item, potion type. It says this stuff is a purified essence of the demonic bloodline, and it's got stronger effects, but it needs more oomph to use it. Our protagonist sits next to Meng Meng and is holding a red scroll. He says he apparently rushed to help Meng Meng and hasn't even accepted the Demon Hunter mission yet. As he opens the scroll, it shows a special S-class mission for Demon Hunter that can only be unlocked after killing a pure demonic creature. The mission is to enter the Abyss, take out 100 lesser demons and 100 fallen demons, and then leave the Abyss. He then says he's heading there but won't rush this time, knowing the Abyss is dangerous but still full of some real good opportunities. Meng Meng is lying in bed with her head on Chen Bai's lap, who's leaning against the pillows. He stores the scroll, and she starts waking up, rubbing her eyes and calling out for him, yelling "Master." She hugs him, and the disease avatar smiles, telling her that he's taken out all the bad guys. Dreamyhead then says she still feels weak in the real world and wants to train more, but he pats her head and tells her that just training won't help much. She needs to focus on the exercises he's given her already. Meng Meng pushes herself up and tells him that she's done all she can, even clearing monsters in her dream world, but can't search for dungeons on her own. Her master smiles and suggests they get back to fighting, promising there are plenty of dungeons to explore once she levels up. With this, Meng Meng jumps out of bed, ready to head to Jiangcheng immediately. Chen Bai grabs her wrist and tells her to hold her horses, reminding her that even if she runs, they won't reach Jiangcheng before next month. He picks her up, making her blush like a fool, then jumps out of the window with her in his arms, telling her to hold on and not open her eyes, and to tap him if the pressure of the wind gets too much for her. He leaps across building walls, then through trees in the mountains outside Wuchang. They finally reach the entrance of a secret village, and Chen Bai places his subordinate on the ground. She follows him, amazed at how quickly the scenery changes, and realizing they're in a secret realm that believes in demons according to the prompt. Our protagonist explains that the difference between a secret realm and a dungeon is the entrance. Only cleared secret realms show entry prompts, and new ones are especially dangerous for the evolved. Meng Meng smiles, saying she'll remember, and asks if she should attract the monsters, but her master just turns to her and tells her this isn't a dream world, so every skill is important. It's safer near the entrance, so he asks her to wait there. Chen Bai then jumps away, disappearing into the distance while Meng Meng watches him leave quietly. As he moves through the area, he kicks and strikes some people in his path, thinking that the mission has changed. It's not just about killing demons anymore. Now he has to eliminate the demon followers and dark priests. He also sees that there are no lineage potions as mission rewards this time, wondering if they've become impossible to get. So he decides to deal with the boss first. When he reaches the central square, he finds a group surrounding a sect leader with a cloak and scepter. The leader shouts about an intruder, demanding a sacrifice for the demon god. Chen Bai suddenly disappears, reappears above the leader, and picks him up with his tentacle aura, absorbing his body. When the henchmen rush him with swords, he blocks them with a purple shield, thinking that he can still use demon blood for evolution. He decides not to hold back, jumping and impaling the remaining demon worshippers with his spikes. Holding one of the bodies up, the disease boss realizes that bosses can indeed separate blood potions, and the quality matches the boss level. Elite monsters can also do this, but regular monsters can't, which makes sense to him. Chen Bai walks back and absorbs every fallen body as he goes, heading toward the village entrance. Meanwhile, Meng Meng is sitting at the entrance, resting her face on her hand, lost in thought. She wonders if her master has already killed the boss, and thinks about all the normal and elite monsters around. She kind of feels a bit left out, realizing she hasn't done anything or gained any experience. Even if Chen brings her to face the boss, she'd be fine with it. Suddenly, Chen Bai appears running and shouts at her to prepare her strongest powers, the most lethal, and fire immediately, reassuring her that even though she's not at full potential, she'll be fine with her mental strength. Meng Meng quickly responds and, still sitting, unleashes a powerful supersonic scream that hits all the demon worshippers following her master. Notifications pop up for her, and she excitedly announces that she's reached level 6.5, gaining a lot of attribute points. Our protagonist smiles and tells her he's also reached level 9. Meng Meng jumps up and hugs him, thanking him for luring in the monsters and expressing her love for him. Just then, a notification catches Chen's attention. It's a video call from Song Ziqiang. He answers, but immediately senses something's wrong. The girls on the screen don't look happy, so he asks what's happened. They tell him they need his help because a goblin claiming to be the god of commerce has shown up at their settlement. The words god of commerce immediately sound familiar to our monarch. He asks Leto how the goblin ended up there, to which Song Ziqiang asks him if he knows the goblin. Song Ziqiang explains the situation at Jiangcheng to Chen Bai. She tells him that our man Lord Leto found her after staying in the settlement for a day. Leto offered to invest in the city by providing a rare A-class silver city building order, but there's a condition. He wants the best location reserved for the Goblin Merchant Guild once the city is built, and offers them a lifetime exemption from taxes. After hearing the details, our hero knows how rare high-level city building orders are. These orders, recognized by the universal will, come with many functional advantages, and the deal seems to have no real downsides. Song Ziqiang agrees, but there's a catch. The city building order must be used immediately. Our protagonist realizes that triggering a monster siege with this A-class order would be tough for the settlement to handle right now, but he reassures his woman that he'll be back within a day to help. Surprised, she asks if he wants her to delay the investment or accept it, but he tells her that the investment is for her because he's already accepted a different one from Lord Leto. Before ending the call, he suggests she give Leto some extra praise and mention his name for added effect. She confidently replies that she'll take care of it and that he shouldn't worry. After the call, Chen Bai opens his inventory and takes out some items, calling Dreamy over. He tells her to pick any equipment that will boost her physical fitness as much as possible. Meng Meng agrees but asks what's going on. He calmly explains that something urgent is happening in Jiangcheng and he needs to get there quickly. Chen Bai explains that he'll be traveling at full speed and that she won't be able to keep up with him. Surprised, Meng Meng says she understands. After some time, she finishes equipping herself with everything she can, boosting her physical fitness to over 30, along with decent defense. Bai looks at her and says it's enough for now. Meanwhile, back at Song Ziqiang's private villa in Jiangchen, she returns to Lord Leto to accept his investment offer after the call with Chen Bai. Lord Leto praises her for being capable and decisive, noting how impressive it is that she managed to establish a settlement early in the apocalypse and handle thousands of evolvers so well. She humbly thanks him, but adds that her abilities are nothing compared to his as the god of trading. She considers it an honor for the entire settlement to be chosen by him. The Goblin Lord appreciates her modesty and expresses confidence that she can turn the settlement into the best city-state for evolvers. He asks her to take good care of the Goblin Merchant Guild in the future. Song Ziqiang sits down and agrees, then mentions that someone in their settlement's management has admired him for a long time. When this person heard about the guild setting up in the city, they stopped their outside exploration and are rushing back to the settlement at full speed. Lord Leto becomes curious about the mysterious person she mentions, wondering who could admire him so much. She reveals that Leto knows the person well. It's our very own Chen Bai, who had recently received an investment from him. He gets very surprised at hearing Bai's name. The mention of our disease lord makes him rethink the original investment and change the difficulty level. Song Ziqiang, confused by this, asks if he's canceling the deal, but instead, Lord Leto pulls out an S-class investment task. He hadn't realized Chen was also a manager in the settlement and believes that for someone like Bai, this higher difficulty is more appropriate. When Song Ziqiang sees the Golden City building order, she's shocked, knowing how valuable an S-class order is. Lord Leto feels confident that if Bai returns in time, they could even handle the monster siege that would follow. Soon, a system notification pops up for Song Ziqiang, offering her the mission. The task is to prepare for a siege where all nearby monsters will be strengthened and attack relentlessly for 5 days. If they withstand the siege, the reward will be the creation of a city within a 10-kilometer radius, recognized by the Universal Will, along with a Golden Grade City building reward. The size and scope of this S-class mission surprise her, as it dwarfs the A-class reward. But the danger is also much greater. The Goblin Lord asks if she still dares to accept the investment. Confidently, she says she'll gladly accept, trusting that with Chen Bai's help, nothing is too difficult. A day later, at the Grand Terrace of the Villa District, Song Ziqiang waits patiently for Chen Bai to arrive. When he shows up, he says that the journey took longer than expected, because monsters were already starting to gather, and he had to clear part of the road. Song Ziqiang expresses relief that he made it back safely, and her man, seeing that Meng Meng has passed out, takes her to a room that had been prepared for her to rest. Song Ziqiang calmly fills her master in on the situation. They've got only 20 minutes before the monster siege kicks off, but she assures him that they've prepared as best as they could. They set up 3 defensive lines, with the main one facing Jiangchen, and packed the place with every defense measure they could think of. Inside Meng Meng's room, she finishes the briefing. She's carrying a briefcase, and our hero praises her for all the hard work. With a warm smile, she casually mentions that over the past few days, they've been grinding the sewer dungeon, and finally managed to complete the plague set equipment. She sits on his lap as he thanks her for everything, saying picking her was one of the best decisions he's ever made. Song Ziqiang counters, saying being chosen by him was the luckiest thing that happened to her. She admits she was a bit nervous about all of this at first, but seeing how he still managed to carry a girl back with him, despite everything going on, gave her some peace of mind. Our protagonist, shaking his head, clears up the misunderstanding. Meng Meng is just his disciple, nothing more. And her talent? It's no joke, she's nearly on his level. He tells his mistress to have her daughter take care of Meng Meng, and as soon as she wakes up, he needs to be notified immediately. Meng Meng is key to defending the settlement, so no way can they afford to overlook her. With the suitcase in hand, our hero and Song Ziqiang leave the room, ready to face the monster siege. Outside Dongshan settlement, by the city walls at the foot of the mountain, a massive swarm of zombies of all shapes and sizes gather around. They're impatient, waiting for the countdown to end. Chen Bai, standing on top of the wall of flesh, is blown away by the sheer scale of the S-class city building siege. Back when he ruled another city, it was only B-class, so this level of monster attack is on a whole different level for him. The difference? Night and day. As the timer ticks down with less than 5 minutes left, Song Ziqiang gets to work. She uses a little girl with sound transmission abilities to rally everyone. The girl's voice rings out over the entire settlement, repeating after Song Ziqiang's words, they're about to face 5 days and nights of relentless monster invasion. But the people shouldn't worry, as the walls are solid, the resources are plentiful, and the backup is unbeatable. She reminds them that they've got hundreds of team members with B-level talents, nearly 10 A-level or S-level experts, and 2 of the strongest SSS-level talents in the world. Victory is theirs for the taking, and in 5 days, they'll control the largest and best territory. The little girl finishes by hyping up the defenders, letting them know they'll be rolling in rewards and discounts once they survive the siege. The crowd roars in excitement, ready for the challenge. Our hero turns to Song Ziqiang, impressed by how she got everyone fired up. She thanks him and admits that seeing both Bai and Meng Meng gave her the confidence boost she needed. Before they get down to business, Chen Bai suggests sending the little girl somewhere safe, also praising her for her sound transmission ability as it could come in handy. Out of nowhere, Lu Li shows up, and as soon as she does, our protagonist asks her how the live broadcast prep is going. She says she followed his instructions, picking the most advanced controllable camera from the Universal Will. Chen Bai looks down at the monster siege and tells her she's done a fantastic job. Now they can kick off the broadcast, and Lu Li eagerly agrees. With less than a minute before the monster horde attacks, a new livestream titled S-Level Golden City Building Siege pops up on the Evolution Forum. Monsters below undergo a wild transformation, growing bigger and tougher. Song Ziqiang gets all worried and points out how the monsters just got a power-up as the siege kicks off. She regrets not taking some of them out earlier when they were weaker. But Chen Bai knew this would happen and chose not to engage, as the strategy is to rack up experience and coins by taking down these stronger monsters. Just then, Chen Bai launches himself into the air like a superhero and lands smack dab in the middle of the zombie horde. He's got a plan. With their attributes tripled, killing these zombies means triple the experience and coins. He grabs the head of one unfortunate zombie and injects it with a plague infection before he flings it back into the horde like a zombie grenade. The plague infection spreads quickly and causes ongoing damage while weakening attributes. Disease Boy thinks the skill is decent. The damage isn't huge, but with its strong infectious ability and attribute weakening, it can make defending the city a lot easier. But to his surprise, just seconds later, the zombie horde starts retreating from the infected. That's when he senses a mental wave coming from somewhere in the siege. The infected zombies gather together while the others stay back. This means there is a zombie lord controlling the horde. That's why the zombies aren't trampling over each other. They are moving in an organized way. As he cuts down some of the attacking zombies, he wonders where this zombie lord is hiding. He figures that finding the lord will make dealing with the horde much easier. However, with the size of the siege, Chen Bai knows there is more than one lord, and finding them will take a while. He realizes that if he goes hunting for the lord, he won't be able to take out many monsters up front. Plus, if the zombie lord leads a big attack, it will mean trouble for the defenders in the city. On the flip side, if he doesn't use this chance to find and take out the lord, the zombies coming from another direction will scatter his people. By then, it'll be even harder to leave and track down the zombie lord. It looks like he really needs Meng Meng's help to sort this mess out. So, as he activates his shield to block an incoming attack, he silently hopes for Meng Meng to wake up soon. Meanwhile, in Meng Meng's room, she slowly opens her eyes. Sitting up, she notices Song Ge, who looks pretty happy to see her awake. Meng Meng looks nervous and asks her who she is and where her master is. She quickly texts Chen Bai to let him know Meng Meng is awake. Dreamy also sends a message to him, saying she's sorry for passing out and making him worry. She says that she got the scoop on what's happening from Song Jae. Anyway, she plans to jump into the dream space right away to help out, and our hero replies that she doesn't have to rush. He adds that he needs her to do something. He's going to describe a type of zombie, and she has to find it in her dream space. When Meng Meng reads his description, she sees it's super detailed. Then, she tells Song Ge she's heading into her dream, so no one should bother her. She is really weirded out that Meng Meng can fall asleep so quickly right after waking up. Inside of Dreamy Girl's dream space, she stands on top of a fence right in front of thousands of zombie monster dudes. She uses her skill Dreamweaver to earthbend, crushing all the stupid zombies to death. She seems very pleased by the intense destruction that she's causing. She decides it's time to go find the zombie god dude that her master mentioned. And with that, off she goes. Back in the real world, on the first day of the defense, at evening, Chen Bai lands atop the fence of the settlement after reducing the zombies' numbers. He meets Song Ziqiang there, who had a bottle of water for him. He asks her for the details on casualties and damages done to the city walls. She responds, and tells him that thanks to him, there aren't any casualties, only a few sustained injuries, and the damage to the walls weren't that much. Not as much as the damage to the zombies, of course. While he is drinking out of the water bottle, the lady tells him that he can rest ashore and let the others stand guard. But he says no. Our protagonist tells her that the situation isn't an optimistic one at the moment. Apparently a huge zombie lord dude named Lord Rank or something is still out there, and he's definitely bad news. Chen Bai tells his friend that only the enhanced versions of those zombies appeared, and they aren't much. He feels that the master zombie is somewhere charging up and getting ready to strike. Suddenly, Song Ge and Dreamy call out to their master. Chen Bai immediately asks Song Ziqiang to tell Lu Li not to livestream there. She immediately tells him that Lu Li had already moved away all the cameras and drones. His reason for this was that Dreamy's ability is a special one, thus he doesn't want anyone to see it. Our virus monarch asks Dreamy if she saw the zombie master, but she says no. Bummer. Although she did sense a few energy fluctuations, each one was pretty deep, so she could only determine the general direction of where it was coming from. She apologizes to her master for not having any locking or tracking skills, but he pats her on the head and tells her not to be sorry about everything, as he knows she's tried her best in finding it. Although she does have some good news, she collects a map from Song Ge and shows her master, telling him that although she didn't find the Lord, she did find some very suspicious zombie gathering spots. Each location has hundreds of special zombies for a reason. She points out at a location near the Jiangchen's farmer's market. There are 200 to 300 2-meter-tall red-eyed fat dudes there. Dongshan Square was filled with some weird zombie dudes with no arms or jaws, and there was a strange crowd of fast zombies crawling on the Riverside TV tower. The shopping streets of Ronghua are filled from end to end with powerful zombies with big arms. Chen Bai identifies these zombies as the Giant Fatty, the Tank, the Predator, and the Whistler. These are all Stage 2 evolved zombies apparently, and would be a pain in the backside to beat considering their numbers. Song Zikyong says that the zombies actually are planning to take them all out in one swoop, and she asks the monarch what level they are. ADN, he responds, saying that they're all at least a level 10 according to Dreamy's account. Apparently, these zombies are in the thousands, and if they all come at him, the humans have a chance at winning. But Chenbai knows that the Lord wouldn't play it that way. He would make the zombies ignore him and go after the city instead to massacre inside. If that happens, not more than 10% of them would survive. This alarms all the girls, and Z declares that the zombie lord has to be eliminated immediately. She tells her leader that she's going to check for anyone in the settlement who has tracking powers. But Chenbai tells her not to worry, as he's already got someone in mind. This person happens to be our very own cringy boy, Han Xiao. He texts Han, asking him if he can trace energy fluctuations and stuff like that. He responds and tells him that mental control is his talent, so tracking energy fluctuations is his thing. Chenbai tells him that in that case, he would need a favor from him. Han asks him if it related to the live broadcast, which our protagonist confirms, and he explains the situation to him. The next morning, Han Xiao shows up at their settlement very excited and eager to go to work. He says that he didn't expect it to be a huge settlement. The broadcast only shows the walls. He asks our hero if he would be given a villa if he decides to pull up here, and Chenbai says yes, as there are many empty villas he could choose from on top of the mountain. He pulls off his normal cringy thanks, and Dreamgirl asks what monster they'd attack first, and our hero responds saying that they should go to the Riverside Tower. When they arrive, Chenbai describes the Whistlers as the zombies that pose the greatest threat to settlements, as they're the only zombies that can ignore city walls. He adds that the Lord would definitely not let them get killed, so it all depended on Han Xiao's performance from then. Dreamy and her master flay away, leaving the sad boy who doesn't know how to fly behind. As they approach the tower, Dreamy gets attacked by the zombies. They're apparently too fast, and she doesn't think she can be fast enough to dodge on time.